Well, it is Wednesday. We're so glad you're with us. It's midweek. It's what day?
Hump day. Middle of the week.
It's been that kind of week, but hey, TGI Hump Day, huh?
Put me on the air.
Yeah, put me on the air.
Start stinking up the airwaves.
That's not true.
It's like my favorite show.
And welcome to the show.
It's showtime, baby.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Wednesday morning. We got Utes, we got Cougars, we got Gordon Monson stopping by here in the opening hour. We're going to start with the Utes. We're going to go up on the hill, talk to a couple guys who are expected to shine in Utah's secondary. Nate Ritchie, safety. You probably know his story. Lone Peak guy, returned missionary. Had the injury at West Virginia last year, but back for a senior season. And we'll start with Elijah Reed. You probably don't know his story. Played for Akron last year, transferring as a senior. Here's the cornerback, Elijah Reed, on moving to Utah.
We've heard that the secondary is pretty stacked this year. How do you feel like this unit or all of the DBs have kind of stacked up this year?
Man, I feel like every single guy, and rather safeties, corners, linebackers, we're all just bringing a different type of competitiveness to this year, and I can feel it in every single guy we have. I would say that's the biggest thing.
You've been called out for your physicality. Just what is it that makes you so physical on the line of scrimmage?
I would say just the want to beat whoever's across from me. That's the main thing. Never want to get beat. Always want to enforce my will upon my opponent.
Is there anything better than beating your opponent and getting to the quarterback and putting him on the turf?
Ain't nothing better than that. Ain't nothing better than that. That's the best thing.
Do you guys like the nickname Sack Lake City?
I love that name. I mean, you can create some new ones, but I love that name too.
As a cornerback, how would you describe your role as an individual in the secondary?
I would describe it as having an ultra focus, as it being probably, and we all have just as hard roles, but the corner group especially is harped on because we played the way we play, and it's just we have to come with that competitiveness and elite focus every day.
How has Coach Shaw helped you take your game to the next level?
In every way. That's a great question. Coach Shaw is just an elite mind. Just been doing this for so long too. I'm so glad I've been able to come here for my last year and learn under him.
Utah has the longest streak for pick sixes. Is that preached to you guys? Do you guys talk about it, or is that just something that's more opportunistic in the game?
This is just something that comes with being here and just playing against guys that are going to push you to be the hardest that you can be every single day. And with competing against these guys every day, that'll automatically come, and that just comes with this defense.
How is much the versatility in this corner room? There's a lot. You guys have a lot of different sides. Just how does it make you guys a better unit as a whole?
Probably makes us the best because every single guy, whether big or small, we all can play any position, I would say, on the field. Whether it's nickel, whether we have corners switching to nickel, safety, we can all play everywhere, so it's huge.
How much joy have you seen from Nate Ritchie just finally being healthy back on the field?
Man, it's great to see. I'm happy he's back. He's going to be huge for us this year.
What do you take pride in as a player, on or off the field?
I take pride in being the best I can be for the guys in my room, I would say, and just showing some experience, I would say, and just bringing that physicality and showing the guys that we can bring this every day.
And as a true defensive guy, someone who's seen Morgan Scally on that side of the ball and now at the helm of this program, just what has that transition been like seeing him go and lead this program?
He's major. Coach Scally brings it every day. He challenges the offense to bring it as hard as they can to us every day, and the same with him coming from being a coordinator. Which even makes it even harder for us because he knows how to challenge us and how to beat us. So it's huge.
All right, there's Utah corner Elijah Reed. He's a newcomer, a transfer from Akron. Now here's a guy who's been here forever. He was a true freshman in 2020 before he went on his mission from Lone Peak High. Here's the safety, Nate Ritchie.
How is it out there being fully healthy again? It must just be an unbelievable feeling.
Oh, yeah, it feels good. It feels good to be back, healthy. Just going with the boys. I mean, shoot, no better group than this one, really.
What did you learn about yourself from sitting out versus last year?
I think I just learned how to really put a lot of positivity into my teammates, just because I wasn't able to be out there, but I was able to, still affect my teammates who were out there and playing. So,
Coach Odom has said there's a lot of emphasis on tackling with you guys in the safety room. Just how have you seen the group progress in that aspect?
Just every day we work it. So just progression, little day by day, and we'll see what happens. We'll see it.
Being away from the game, what did you miss the most?
Everything. Honestly, just traveling with the team. That's always just fun to be out there with the guys and experience that, going to places and whatnot. But
with you and Rob in a similar situation, were you able to kind of commiserate or at least use each other to kind of help continue to grow and stay in with the team?
Yeah, definitely. Me and Rob, we hung out quite a bit. We were able to help a lot of the guys out and just hang out with each other because we're in the same position.
Help out how?
Huh?
Help out how?
Sorry?
Help out how?
Yeah, just talking to the guys that were playing, helping them out with game plans and whatnot, techniques, positivity, just encouragement, that kind of stuff.
You've been in this program for a long time. You've seen a lot. Where can you use that to your advantage to either help yourself or help this team as they develop?
I've just seen a lot. I've seen a lot of football, so just being able to understand what offense is throwing at me and help my other teammates, see it as well, and just to ultimately play good defense at the end of the day. I've been here in the culture for a long time. I've known RSMB for a long time. Continue to help establish the culture and help bring others along with me.
To piggyback off of that, how would you describe how the culture in the building has changed with Morgan Scalley as head coach?
It's just RSMB. That's the culture. That now everyone emphasizes it. The defense has had that culture for a long time, but it's cool to have everyone on the same page. And so that's honestly the biggest difference is just RSMB.
How would you describe the secondary? There's so much talent and experience. Do you think it could be a strength of the defense?
Definitely a strength. We got guys, we got depth, we got experience. So I'm excited for what the secondary is going to do this year. Can't wait for everyone to see.
What about the pass rush? Lost a lot of production from last year's team, but how do you think the pass rush stacks up this year?
We got dudes working hard. We got leaders. I just can't wait for everyone to see what happens there as well. Great guys.
Nate, you had one of the best games of your career last year against Texas Tech. What about that performance are you looking to replicate this year?
Just to fly around, have fun, and play with my teammates, do my job. Ultimately, doing your job and having fun and understanding offensive football, that's the biggest thing to help lead you to be in there. But, at the end of the day, it's not all about me. I know I had some good tackles that game, but ultimately it's about the team, and we're going to continue to get better and win games this year.
All right, there's youth safety Nate Ritchie. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Gordon Monson joining PK and I right here on The Zone. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time to welcome Gordon Monson into the show. Gordon, good morning.
Man, how you guys doing?
We're good. We've been up a long time. You've been up, I'm guessing, 5 to 10 minutes? Maybe 15?
I got a bad reputation in that regard.
You do.
You might even be up now. I'll still be in bed.
Are you sitting in bed?
No, I'm not in bed.
All right.
But the bed's not far away. I did the morning with DJ back in the day. Remember that?
Yep.
Oh, my gosh. There's a lot of history between the three of us.
There you go. All right, well, we wanted to have you on. You've written a story about what's going on at BYU. What is going on at BYU in your estimation as near as you can figure out?
Well, I've gotten I got my sources down there. I know you guys have yours too. And it's funny, people think we're making this stuff up. We're not making this stuff up. Kalani is really, really upset with the way things have gone down, and there's a bit of a disconnect. At least there has been. I don't know what's happened in the last 12 hours or so, but I know that Kalani was pretty upset with the situation as it was unfolding. He had certain expectations that haven't been fulfilled, and we'll see if they get fulfilled. And where this goes from here is anybody's guess. I would assume that they'd be able to smooth it over, but I'm not sure of it. I'm not sure how Kalani is going to respond moving forward. I do know this. He loves BYU, and he loves his job down there. But look, when people tell you something, I think one of the things that bothers people the most, or at least it does me, maybe it does you guys, and it certainly does Kalani as well, when people don't tell you the truth, or they tell you one thing and then they do another. That's a bit of a problem, especially at a place like BYU, where they claim to stand for certain things that about truth and things like that. And I think Kalani was extremely disappointed with the way things had gone. I have sources down there who told me they'd never seen Kalani as mad as he was over this.
Yeah, okay, I buy it. So the opportunity arose for him to speak on it, and he chose, and that's sort of mushroomed since then. The idea being that Brian Santiago is the whipping boy. I'm wondering to what level of accuracy, because we're making that sound like he's put a stop to whatever was agreed upon, and he alone, he's king, and he decides where the money goes, and he's a basketball guy, and he walked out on the stage when they hired Kevin Young. It's like I like to say when Morgan Wallen does his stadium tours, he always takes a local guy or two or a gal and walks out with them. And, he was right there with Kevin Young. So he's a basketball dude doing that very thing. And so he's going to devote as much money as possible to basketball at the expense of football. But I'm wondering the validity of that in terms of he's the sole reason why Kalani Sitake is furious.
That's a real good question, PK. I think this is a $64,000 question that I haven't been able to find out yet, and I don't know how you guys are or where you are on it. But it's this: who is it? Who is it that is where the buck stops on this? I've talked to people down there who have been totally pleased with Brian Santiago, who say he's a fair dude. And he's worked with them, and they're happy with his involvement. So is it him alone? I kind of doubt it. I was told that some of the emotion coming from Kalani is not just aimed at Brian; it's aimed at certain administrators that are higher up on the ranking. And so I don't know. This is one thing I haven't found out, and I don't know what you guys have found out. Who is it? Who is it that is causing the problem and the disruption with Kalani? I don't have the answer to that yet. Do you guys?
Well, I definitely think there's friction and tension there. I don't think that's any surprise. I put out a piece. I don't write regularly anymore, but I thought that was necessary. And the idea being, Brian was comfortable with Kalani leaving, and it had to go above him. And I guess elders of the church who have that, they're assigned BYU, whatever it might be, how it plays out, and they had to step in that Brian was completely comfortable in going with Jay Hill. And if Kalani didn't want to stay or wanted to go, so be it. So there is tension there, but I also have a hard time believing, based on the structure of BYU, which tends to be a little bloated at the top, that you're going to have so much power as the athletic director, and everything, the buck stops or doesn't go forward with you exclusively.
I would just build on that. I would say there is no way that Santiago by himself could be fighting some multi-front war and holding everybody off. There've got to be people who think like he does, and whether he's leading them or they're leading him and he's following them, I don't know. That gets pretty gray. But it doesn't seem to me like the worst case scenario that people are talking about, the absolute worst case could be true. That Kalani isn't getting stuff that's in his contract and that Santiago alone is the reason. No, because back to what PK said, there's usually too many people and you report to multiple people and there's a whole food chain, and like that he would all by himself. That just doesn't smell. That's not logical. It doesn't pass the smell test.
I agree with both of you. That's not the way things work at BYU. You don't. One guy in Brian Santiago's position doesn't have the power to put up a battle like this. And if he thinks he does, he's going to lose. He's going to lose that. in my opinion. I think it goes beyond. It goes to the school president. And I don't know where the leap is from the administrators up to church leadership. That's the void that has not been crossed or connected in the people I've talked with. But I was told by reliable sources that Kalani's anger goes past Brian Santiago to folks who are in more powerful positions than he is.
I think the basic premise here, rather than get caught up in the specifics, is why aren't you investing more in football compared to basketball? And basketball is riding along with football when football, and this is across the country basically, and certainly at Provo, Utah, BYU, is that the return on the investment, the ROI, as they say, and I know, Gordon, you're a financial genius because you've advised me many, many times that the ROI in football is just X amount larger, and it'll always be larger. And that's where you need to put the majority of your emphasis financially and all the other things that go into it, because they are the big money maker, and the opportunity to make even way more than you're making now is there if you would invest in it. And I think that's the core of the issue.
I agree with that, PK. And the thing about Kalani knows what a program has to have in order to be at the level that BYU fans and that he expects the program to be. I don't think he's sitting there. I think he wants what he's due on a personal level. There's no doubt about that. But he wants the other stuff. I was told it goes from big things to little things on down the line. Stuff that some people might not think is that important, but it's very important to him because he thinks it affects the way the Cougars play on the field. And, if you put this to a vote among boosters and among fans, certainly BYU has plenty of them. One booster told me they're swimming in money down there. They would be on Kalani's side on this and just say everything you just said, PK. Football is king down there. Take care of your football program. Because think about what's happened with BYU sports. I know some people think, this isn't important. These are just games they play. BYU has gotten so much publicity and much of it positive out of its sports, especially football and to some degree basketball over the past couple of years, probably more than I've ever remembered seeing come BYU's way in the past, going back 40, 50 years, all the way back to Lavelle. I mean, I've seen BYU spoken of more often recently than ever before in all my years covering that school. And so they do get benefits from this. People do watch BYU football and say, hey, BYU, they're aware of it. And that's kind of going all the way back to Rondo Feldberg. That's sort of what the church that operates the school wants to get out of this. They want positive publicity, and they want exposure that will lead people to become interested in what their religion is all about. And so, yeah, it's pretty important to that institution down there and up in Salt Lake as well.
Gordon Monson, Salt Lake Tribune, joining us. Do you feel like it'll impact the team in the short run this season? Do you feel like it might impact it in the longer run, or do you think they blow through this and just keep doing what they've been doing, which double-digit win seasons 4 times in 6 years and back-to-back in the Big 12, which is most important, obviously?
Two avenues here. One is that in the long run, I think it could be harmful to the program. It could be harmful in the short term as well. But I wrote a column about this, and it's something, how football is, how emotional it is. I think the players could rally around their coach. I mean, you guys have known Kalani all these years. We've known him for, what's it been, PK, 35, 40 years, whatever it's been, 30 years. I mean, the guy is a lovable dude. His players, most of them, maybe not all of them, but most of them really love the guy, and he loves them. And when you have that kind of connection with your players, and the players sense that, hey, this guy is not only sticking up for himself, but he's sticking up for the players as well. I was told by a source down there that those players don't get nearly as much in benefits than what the reputation is. And they see this coach out there fighting for them and fighting for him and fighting for them as well. So will they go out and play their off to help him succeed? And so it could be a rallying cry for this season. On the other hand, if things start to go south a little bit, then who knows? Who knows what can stir up? And we've seen this with college teams. We've seen it with professional teams. Sometimes it can benefit, and sometimes it's a detriment. What it's going to be with this particular team, I'm eager to find that out. But in the long haul, I think if BYU ticks off Kalani Sitake to the point where he wants out, I think that would leave a hole in that program that would be very difficult for him to fill. I know Jay Hill is out there. He's busy in Michigan right now. We know he wants to be a head coach one day, but I don't think he's a vulture just circling around the carcass of BYU football, waiting for an opportunity to get in there. Kalani Sitake is from Central Casting for BYU football coach. He is everything they want in a coach, and then some. And when you think of the record, 23-4 over the past 2 years, what's not to like about what this guy is doing? As far as spending the money, investing the money into the program, that's something that has to happen if they want to compete for Big 12 championships and to get into the college football playoff. If they want to be what they've been in the past and just kind of finish 7-5 or 8-4, something like that, then maybe they can get away with this kind of nonsense. But they can't get away with it if they want to be at the top. And it seems like that's what they say they want.
Yeah, they certainly say that. They want to play at the highest levels while maintaining the search standards and all that, and that's a difficult balance. We understand that. But my thought, and I don't have anybody who's told me this, is that we have heard from other folks that, the price keeps going up and up and up. The percentage, 15, 20% per year, even more, and there's $40 million, $50 million rosters, that the church leadership is going to put a limit on it. We're just not going to dump significant amounts of money every single year in terms of raising it. We'll, in our minds, devote a significant amount of money, but don't count on a 15 to 20% increase yearly like some of these other places are. Somebody's got to draw the line somewhere.
Well, do you want to win?
Yeah, but I mean, but do you want to win, or do you want to just continue to have a steady stream of money being flowed out?
Well, there are programs, and we can name some of them, who do have a lot of money, and they don't use it properly, or they don't use it in a manner that ends up with a successful formula. And so there is squandering of some of those resources, but the programs that really have it together, they utilize what they have and they win games. And, you kind of get what you pay for if you have the right people in place. I think BYU has the right people in place as far as its football program goes. So what's the cost? What's the cost of winning? What's the reward to exposure? What's the reward for having BYU, your church school, named on national TV over and over again, and have people interested in tuning in and being interested? Because people love winners. It's just the way it is. If BYU wants to play that game, then they have to at least come up with a certain amount of money. We're way past the days of Lavelle Edwards when he was finding geniuses to help him win far beyond what the program had as far as resources. These days, you can't get by like that. It just doesn't work anymore. So you got to make a decision. What do you want to be? If you want to be at the top, then it's going to cost you a certain amount. But you get a lot in return as well. You got both of us, all three of us were talking to a certain guy down there at BYU recently, and he was telling us about some of the finances that are involved in and some of the payoffs that come out of BYU football. So ultimately, is it worth paying those prices? That's what they have to figure out.
Well, but see, the thing is,
Sitake's the right guy to have. I mean, how is he not the right guy to run the program and to pay that price for?
I get, and this is the part that doesn't make any sense. I get that one day it may be too much. The spending's just accelerating so quickly. So everything just PK said, I get that. There'll come a time some school somewhere is going to say, that's just too much. But that's the kind of discussion you would think that BYU administrators would be having before they gave Kalani the deal. I wouldn't think that moment then comes within months of that deal being done. And if you think you're going to move on from Kalani to Jay, you think Jay isn't going to come in and say the same thing? Jay's now seen the inside of Michigan's finances. He's been in BYU. He's seen the inside of their finances. What do you think he's going to say? So you're either going to pay it or you're not. What is the end game in not following through on the promises, or only following through on the promises part way?
100%, DJ. 100% right there. There it is.
Yeah.
You get what you pay for if you have the right people in place. If you don't have the right people in place, then you squander your money. If you have the right people in place and you invest what needs to be invested in order to be whatever it is you want to be, if you want to be at the top, then that's the price you pay. If you want mediocre football and just have people go out to the game and those who will show up and enjoy the afternoon or the evening, whatever, okay, then that's what you're going to get. But you can't have it both ways. You gotta sacrifice what's necessary in order to win. And if you don't want to do that, then get the hell out of it.
We'll leave it right there, Gordon. Why don't you go back to sleep or take your late morning nap, whatever you want to do.
Oh, are you kidding me? I've been out, splitting logs and hauling lumber since the crack of dawn this morning. Come on, guys.
Hauling lumber. All right, we'll talk to you, Gordon.
Have a good one, guys.
Thanks.
See ya.
There's Gordon Monson. When we come back, we're going to BYU to hear from the Cougar coordinators, Aaron Roderick and Kelly Poppinga. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time to go to Provo and hear from the Cougars. We'll start with a player. We'll start with Sione Moa, BYU running back. Who's going to be the guy behind LJ? Well, here's Sione Moa, who wants that role.
I feel great, honestly. Yeah, it's been a long road to recovery, but I think we have the best training room, the best sports science people in the nation, And so I've been able to get back from my injury basically 100% now, and so I'm ready to go.
You ran back some kicks a couple times, and you look good doing it. What are your thoughts about maybe doing that this year?
Oh, that'd be fun. I love being an off returner, being a lead blocker. Sometimes the kicker will kick it my way, and I'm like, oh, it's my time to shine. ECU, I fumbled it at first, but then I picked it up and I ran the ball. So that's a fun little position I see myself in this year too.
How do you feel about the overall just makeup of the offense right now?
I love it. I think the offense has definitely improved from last year. I have my mentor of a running back, LJ, right next to me. He's like my best friend in the backfield, like SpongeBob and Patrick. It's like we're just 1 and 2, and so it's exciting to see not only him, but the whole O-line, the receivers, Bear, get to know the playbook even more, and so it's been awesome to see all of us improve all together.
How much better is Bear this year than he was a year ago?
Oh, tenfold. He's got the whole offense down. People don't know he didn't get a whole spring with us last year. He only got that little summer and then got the job, but now he has a whole year of the offense. He has a spring ball, 2 fall camps, and so he's got everything down, and he's matured a lot since the first time I stepped on the field with him.
How's the young guys done with the playbook? Are they learning the playbook well?
Yeah. Oh, the young guys are a lot smarter than I was when I was a freshman. Yeah. Devon, Journey, all the newcomers that have come in and learned the playbook and executed it when they're out there. It's been amazing to watch and to see that maybe I gotta step on my sharpness in my mind, because they're definitely ahead of me. But so, yeah, I'm excited for them.
What are some of your personal goals for Game 1 against Utah Tech?
Stay healthy, but after that, I just hope I can contribute whenever I'm on the field, whether it's out the backfield. Probably the thing that I want to work on most is my pass pro, hoping to be that 6th O-lineman. Like we've heard in many interviews, Bear, the quarterback, they make the most money. We got to protect them. And so, that's my number one goal coming into Utah Tech, to show coaches that I'm able to do all 3, run the ball, pass the ball, and block for the QB. So.
Coach Roderick, what's different about this year's offense?
I think the maturity. I think we've also picked up a lot of transfers that have experience under their belt, and so when they come in, they've learned the playbook, and they're calling stuff on their own. If they're transfers, if they're newcomers, like whatever it is, everyone has matured enough to know what's happening, what could happen, this and that. And so that's probably the most I see changed from last year.
Coach Roderick had talked about tuning out all of the noise outside, good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are getting a lot of pub right now. How are you guys navigating that? Especially when it's positive things. People are talking really good about BYU.
Yeah.
How do you put the noise behind you and just stay in the moment?
Our coaches, they always, especially Harvey, he's always saying stay off social media, because when we're doing good, people love us. When we're doing bad, people hate us. And so it's up to us to stay in our lane and stay level throughout the whole time, not get too high, not get too low. And I think as a team, we do that pretty well. We're not on social media too much, giving too much energy to all the bad stuff and even the good stuff. So just trying to stay level is definitely a challenge, but it's something that we can't not do. That makes sense.
How'd you feel about the scrimmage game?
Good, yeah. The young guns look great. Like I said, the offense, I'm excited for the offense. I'm excited for the defense too, just to show the world that we haven't missed a step from last year. And so I'm ready for September 5th and then the games after that too, and just ready to play football again.
Sione, there was an article from ESPN this past week, and it was headlined Kalani Sitake, your favorite coach's favorite coach. Curious from your perspective, being in this locker room the last 3 years, just what does Kalani mean to these players, and maybe what does he do for you guys to get the most out of this team?
Yeah, Kalani, he's like a father figure to all of us. He'll be going throughout the locker room, sitting down in the locker, talking with us each and every day, and just really getting to know us. I don't think he's a passive coach, but he's actively trying to be in our lives, whether it's on the field or off the field. He wants to be in our lives. He wants to be there to support us in everything that we do. And so since I was a freshman, the past 2 years, I've loved him as a head coach. Like you said, he's everyone's head coach's favorite head coach, whatever you just said. Yeah, I think it's true. He's down-to-earth man, and I'm excited to play with him for these next few years to come.
How have you seen him change? Because there's been so much talk about how there was such a close call last year in December. How have you seen him different maybe this season?
I think he just loves more each and every year, if that makes sense. Like the more years that I get with him, the more I see that his love grows for us and for this football team and for this university too. And you can just tell by the way he is how genuine it is and how sincere it is. And so that's what everyone wants to play for. And that's why I think a lot of people stayed to play with him, because not only of how good of a football coach he is, but how good of a man he is, an example he is to us. So.
What kind of confidence do you get at running back when you see you have a great offensive line?
Oh, it's my favorite thing ever. If I ever score, if I ever get a first down, it's never because of me. It's because of those 5 guys up front. And so I'm grateful that I have a great O-line. And yeah.
How do you think you and LJ complement each other?
Well, I'm faster than LJ. I'm strong. No, I think we're like a 1-2 punch. What's that duo? Reggie Bush and yeah, exactly. Thunder and lightning. I think that's kind of how we complement each other. Sometimes I'm thunder, sometimes he's lightning, sometimes it's vice versa, And so I hope that this upcoming year I'm able to mirror what he does, and yeah, just be a great running back overall.
So which one are you? Are you Bush or is he Lendell?
Don't tell LJ, but I feel like Bush. I don't tell LJ that, but yeah, exactly. SpongeBob, Patrick, Bush, Lightning, Thunder, all those guys.
With your athleticism, though, Coach A-Rod's talked about how you're one of the most athletic guys on the team. Was there, what's your top-end speed? Has that been tested, like numbers, metrics-wise, that you've kind of personally, kind of personal best?
Sorry. Why did he say that?
40-yard dash, anything like that you've had like a personal best in terms of your time?
No, we don't run 40-yard dashes. We have like our sensor stuff, but I think he said that because I beat him in pickleball, golf, basketball, all these other sports. So I think that's why he said that, Yeah, not really like my speed and stuff, but just like volleyball, anything, just let me know. I'll be there.
Any other questions? Yeah, what excites you about this year after what you win?
To finish the job. I think we've come up short my freshman year, my sophomore year. And so I'm excited to see how we all bounce back from those past 2 years and just get things done this time. I think that's obviously everyone's goal, but I hope, and I see it every single day in the locker room, in the weight room, that we're determined, and that fire under us is continuing to burn. And so I'm excited to get that chance to finish what we started. Oh, I'm honestly just to play football. Like, I almost got it taken away from me last year, and so every day I'm grateful to play the sport, and I just hope that I can play the sport for as long as I can, you know. So.
Here's BYU running back Sione Moa. Now, here's the offensive coordinator, Aaron Roderick.
Thought we played well. Did a lot of good things. Bear was very sharp, and I thought our receivers and tight ends played really well. It was nice to do some actual tackling, you know, so the running backs, you get to find out about the young running backs a little bit. Ball security is always a concern with a guy who hasn't played in a real college game, so get to evaluate their ball security when they're live and see who can break a tackle and make somebody miss. You know, some of that stuff in regular practice you don't really get to see it because if they tag us, we're down. You know, so that was a good takeaway, just getting to see some of those guys play live.
How are your backs looking? How's it shaking out behind LJ?
I don't think we have the exact depth set yet, but Preston Rex is going to play this year. Devon's going to play this year. And then this kid, Journey, he's I don't know, we haven't ruled him out yet. He is explosive. Like, every time he touches the ball, something exciting happens, it seems like. So, and then obviously LJ and Sione are two lead guys, and they're both playing really good football.
You touched on Bear. Where have you seen improvements from him from a year ago this time when he was fighting to be QB1?
Just his mastery of the offense. I mean, I'll say a play call to him that last year we would put it on a wristband for him, and pretty long play call. I'll say it to him, and he only needs to hear it once, and he can go in the huddle and say the play. His decision making is, you know, he's always been a good decision maker, but now with you know, his knowledge of our offense, now he's just making faster decisions than ever, getting the ball out of his hands better than ever, and he's super accurate. I mean, he's as accurate of a thrower as I've ever coached.
Is he taken? Do you think that time being at BYU for a full year has really helped in that regard in all those facets?
Yeah, I mean, last summer he's a smart guy, but he was drinking through a fire hose, and so were the coaches. We were meeting with him all summer, trying to get him ready, and you know, and this year, you know, he's had a full year in the weight room. You know, he's changed his body. He's had a full year to get reps with our players, build that chemistry. A couple plays today were what I would call chemistry throws. It's like he knows the body language of the player he's throwing to. He knows exactly when to put it and where to put it, and it's good stuff.
What has stood out to you about the offensive line? It all kind of starts up there.
Yeah, well, they're just steady, big, same guys every day. You know, they love football. They're doing a good job, and they just come out here and work, and we've got a good group.
Wide receivers, what's standing out about that group as a whole right now as you're trying to establish who's going to be regular rotation guys for you?
They're big. That stands out. So you see them walk out on the field. I don't think anybody in the country is going to have a bigger group than we have. Maybe somebody, I don't know, but we have great size, and really like the way they're executing. JoJo is playing really good football. I'll forget somebody if I start mentioning everyone, but Kyler Casper really showed up in the scrimmage, played well. Tiger Bachmeyer had a really good scrimmage. He's playing well. Reggie Frischneck is playing well, and Glasker. You know, those guys are all doing a really nice job.
We're seeing Roger play a lot of a two-point stance. Is that just going to be by design with Walker's more the inline guy?
We've always done that with all of our tight ends. They're going to play in a three-point with their hand on the ground, attached to the line of scrimmage. They're going to play in the wing, and they're going to be split out at receiver too. And that's something we've always done. Back to, you know, Isaac Rex, or even Matt Bushman when I first got here, had him for. Our tight ends play all over the field, and it's part of our offense. We want to be multiple with those guys, and make give people fits with the fact that those guys are multi-skilled guys. They can do a lot of things.
We saw a lot of Enoch today. Is there still a competition back up with him and Tracy?
If we had a game today, Trayson definitely. Trayson's playing good football, man. He would start for a lot of teams in the country, and he is, and Enoch would too. I mean, he is super talented, and just learning new things every day. But he never repeats a mistake, and he is very high ceiling.
There's obviously, from the outside looking in, there's a lot of people talking about how good this team can be, and I know you guys have said we're not focusing on that. How do you balance, though, the reason, though, people are talking about that is because this team has earned the right to be talked about. How do you balance that part of it?
Yeah, that's the challenge this year is, not feeling like we've arrived or done anything special because we haven't won a game yet. But I think these guys also know that everything people say, good or bad, is nonsense, really. All that matters is what you do in the game. And so when people thought we weren't any good and said we weren't any good, then that wasn't true. And when people say how great we are, that's not necessarily true either. We haven't played yet. And so I think if we just focus on doing our job just each day, then at the end of the season we'll be happy with the results. But we're not thinking about our final record. We're definitely not listening to anybody say how good we are because we haven't done anything. And last year we won 5 or 6 games where we had to come from 2 scores, come from behind and 2 scores. We won a bunch of games, in the fourth quarter. Everybody here is humble enough to know those games can go either way if you don't do everything right. And so we're just staying humble and continuing to work.
There's BYU offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick. Now here's the defensive coordinator, Kelly Poppinga.
Kind of gone back and forth. I've been up in the box pretty much my whole career until Boise State, so the last 4 seasons, and I've really enjoyed being on the field. So I'm kind of going back and forth. So I was up in the box last Saturday. I'll probably be down on the field for this scrimmage and kind of just fill it out how it goes. We still got a couple weeks to decide, but I think either way we'll be fine. I just, I think it just depends on, I think, my feel of everything, of how I, feel. But like during practice, I'm on the field all the time, and it feels good. I think there's a part of it where I want to be able to look the guys in the eye and be able to, talk to them and communicate with them and see their demeanor and their body language and all that, rather than communicate that through another person. But there's some certain positives from being up on top too as well. So I just think, there's pros and cons. I got to weigh them out. But I think as a staff, I feel good either way.
What was your reaction overall to the scrimmage? Kalani said he felt like Saturday the offense won the day, but looking at the film, what did you take?
Yeah, the offense definitely had a very good day. It was probably their best day they'd had. They came out on fire, a little bit more juice than we did. I thought they controlled the scrimmage by their physicality, and which is disappointing. You always want to be the most physical team on the field, and that day we weren't. And so they did a good job. They ran the ball pretty much at will, and they threw the ball. They did good. It was a good day for them. And so we had stacked some really good days before that, and maybe we came out a little overconfident. I don't know, but I think we rebounded really well yesterday and today. And our offense is good, so it's good. I think we're playing one of the best offenses in the country. And what I told our defense is it's completely different than playing Bear Bachmeier as a true freshman compared to Bear Bachmeier that's now have 14 games under his belt and a spring ball and a fall camp and all summer workouts. I mean, that dude's smart and he knows where to go with the ball. If you don't disguise well and you tell him exactly what we're playing before the ball snap, you're in trouble. And so it's good to be able to see that, and it's making us better as a defense to be able to play an offense like that and the weapons that they have.
So far, what do you think's further ahead? Your rushing defense or your passing?
I honestly think they're both at the same spot right now. I feel really good about both of them. I don't feel like one's lagging. I think we've made plays in both of them. I think we've been really stout at days and at times in the run game, and I think we've been really sticky in coverage at times too as well, and really executed our coverage as well. So it just with Bear, it's you're going to get exposed if you're not really sticky in coverage, and so that was like that today. I felt like he was on, and we just got there's little things here and there we got to clean up, but I feel really good. I think our back end guys are very good players, all experienced, and I think our rush is as good as it's been. We got more guys to pressure the quarterback this year than we've had in the past, so I just feel like the balance of that has been really good to be able to stop the run and be able to stop the pass.
Any other questions? As you look forward here, you mentioned you saw bounce back from the defense. What's the mentality got to be from these guys? What are you preaching to them versus what are they doing themselves?
Yeah, it's just one play at a time. It's such the cliche stuff, but it's so important in football, and I think anything in any sport that you play, you got to live in the moment. You got to be one play at a time. I call it next play mentality. So as soon as that play's done, we're not dwelling on the past if it was negative or even if it was positive, right? And so we got to be able to stay in the moment and be able to attack the next play that's about ready to in front of us. And so the phrase and the words that we've used around here for special teams and everything has been that next play mentality. And so just being able to stay focused and locked in and disciplined to that, I think will help us play our best in that current moment.
Keanu told us last week he wants the defense to get 50 sacks this year. He tied for best in the country last year. Has that been something from you? Or is that
No, that's a lot of sacks. I think the most I've ever had in a season at Virginia, I think we broke the school record 2 years in a row in like 2019 and 2020. I think we were like 45 or 46 one year, and then we were one more the next year. And so, like, I think anything in the 40s is exceptional. If you're in the 50s, that's like record-breaking right there, right? So I just think, at the end of the day, I tell everybody this. Sacks is one of the most overrated. Guys, we had one of the best defenses in the country in 2024, and we had 10 sacks on the year. So that just goes to tell you, it doesn't matter. Sacks are awesome. Trust me, I want 50 sacks, but I also want to not give up. I want to give up less than 19 points. And if we do that, then we're going to be in great shape to be able to play great defense. So if that means we have 50 sacks and we give up 19 points or less, or we have 10 sacks and 19 points or less, I want to not give up points. That is the key to this whole, keep the points off the scoreboard. That is the purpose of this game. And if we have 50 sacks and we lose, 5 of 7 games, then that's a problem, right? So I just think there's that fine line of getting so excited about sacks all the time. And, we got to lock in on, actually what's important, which is the scoreboard. So.
Coach, have you talked to Justin at all so far this camp on special teams about?
Oh yeah. There's stuff that he's given me advice on, and he's coached these backers for the last 3 years, and he's coached in this defense for a really long time. And so just being able to communicate with him and some thoughts and ideas that I may have. But there's open communication, and Jay did the same thing with me. And I just think as a staff, you always got to be collaborating and understanding that you don't have all the answers, and there's a lot of smart coaches in the building, and be able to go and get answers from them. And so we just I think as a staff we've done a good job of that, of being able to be open books and making sure we're sharing each other's ideas and thoughts.
There's BYU defensive coordinator Kelly Poppinga. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
When you say the Bus family decided to sell, we're really talking about 5 of the 6 Bus siblings, and they believe they have the right to do this because of what's called a tag-along provision in the original sale to Mark Walter, which is if Mark Walter ever decided to sell his shares, they had the option to tag along to the sale that he makes at the same valuation. Jeannie's point here is that they can't do anything without her. And she did not even vote in the family vote that took place on Monday morning. She just abstained. Her lawyers have pointed to a 2017 court ruling, a court order, previous case that she had against her older brothers that said the trust can't do anything without her say so, because this trust, which is what owns the shares of the Lakers. It's not held individually like each of the 6 siblings owns 3%. The family trust owns all 18% of the Lakers shares.
I got to admit, I tuned out. This is really important. If your dad has built a multi-million or billion-dollar business, and if there are different moms, generational rivalries, because there's a big age group among the siblings, if people don't like each other, and if you're going to struggle to divvy up the millions. That's over here. I'm way over there. What about you, Captain? Did you check any of those boxes?
I don't know. I don't check any of those boxes.
See, so I think they're going to be able to sell. Because I think when you own stuff in the U.S., you get to sell it. Now, they may have to give lawyers a lot of money to get to that point, but, we'll see. How well will the Lakers be run by the new owners? It's going to be really different because the front office is going to change over, and it's going to be all new. And when the Lakers get Hall of Famers running it, like anybody else, they do really well. And you get a little more wiggle room because Jerry West is a Hall of Famer. When he won the Memphis Grizzlies, he made him a playoff team. Made a bunch of smart decisions, but Memphis, obviously, doesn't have the built-in advantages that Los Angeles has, obviously. He did a great job of getting Shaq and Kareem there. Yeah, Shaq and Kareem wanted to go there. And he never would have gotten Kobe to Memphis because Kobe didn't want to go to Memphis. Threatened to go play in Europe. Already spoke Italian, had citizenship. It's a very real threat. Now, the exciting NBA news here is that ESPN's NBA insiders, filling time in August, decided to answer the question, which of the top 4 picks will win an NBA championship first? Now, I think that's a loaded question. That supposes that more than one of them will win a championship. There's a real threat that none of them win a championship. But if you want to say A.J. DeBonsa, Wizards, Darren Peterson, Jazz, Cameron Boozer to the Grizzlies, Caleb Wilson to the Bulls, well, the Bulls and Wizards haven't exactly been run well. So even if they got a great talent, will they mess it up? The Grizzlies and the Jazz, I think, have been run better. And the Jazz are being run by people who have built championships before. And ESPN NBA insiders voted Darren Peterson as the most likely candidate. Oh, it's going to happen. It's happening. Michael Scott in the office. It's happening. It's happening. And you say that's different because this would be joy and that would be sheer panic. Yeah, I think when there's that much joy, there's very little difference. Now, I think that Michael Scott meme works really well right here. It's happening. Was that the fire cold open when he did that? I've seen the meme. I forget the context. I think it was.
It was when Dwight. Yeah. It was when Dwight did the
Dwight's
fire
been
drill.
out heating up the door handles. Hilarious. Putting the little wedges in to lock the doors. And then narrating the whole thing. Oh, there is smoke. Where is the nearest escape route? I didn't watch it live, and we'll get to why later in the show. I mean, I thought The Office was hilarious when I finally saw it, but I didn't see it till the pandemic when I binged it when there was no sports because I'm always watching sports. And that's going to be a topic for our next segment. But when I saw that, I immediately said, I think there were 3, maybe there were 4 of us watching. There were 3 or 4 of us watching. We were watching it as a family. Somebody might have wandered away. And like, back it up. I got to see it again. There's a lot going on there. Stanley had a heart attack. That was hilarious. And that's what's going to happen if the Jazz win a championship. You're not old enough to remember this because you are, I think we established you're 26, right? Anything that happened in the 1900s was before you.
Yes, that's right.
So the Jazz had already been here. So I'm trying to think. They've been here almost 20 years. Now people have waited 45 years, okay? But in 20 years, people were frantic for a title. I mean, the clock was running out on Stockton Malone. They were mid-30s. And people were obsessing about them and their decline by the time they turned 30. And they're playing the Bulls in the finals the first time, and they go to Chicago and they lose the first 2. And they lose the game 1 on a shot at the buzzer. And there's this whole notion like, well, you're not coming back. You're not beating Jordan 4 in a row to win the title. You're not beating Jordan in a game 7. It's already over. And realistically, that was right. But they won game 3, and it was pretty exciting. And the Bulls had a late rally, and Jordan had a 3 to tie it. He missed it, but he didn't have much time, and it was a long shot. And he was pressured and kicked off the rim. People, oh, yeah. So then, game 2's epic. So many epic things happen. I mean, I feel like I've forgotten. I've seen a bazillion games since then. I've forgotten, but this one sticks out. Stockton has a steal where he picks Jordan's pocket when Jordan's spinning, and Stockton throws a 60-yard pass and comes in over the top of Malone's head. He catches it, lays it in, beats the defender to the rim, and Stockton hits what would now be a Steph Curry logo 3. I mean, he hit a deep 3. I mean, he took it, and everyone's like, "Whoa, you're supposed to be passing, dude!" And bang, drills it right. So they win the game. I go outside to do a live shot. And I'm telling you right now, and I'm not dressing this up later on, you have never, and it's 2-2. Like anything can happen. And it would. Jordan was about to have the flu game, and then they were going to win game 6 on, Steve Kerr's shot. But it felt like they could win it. And people were so hyped up at the thought of that. 300 West was a traffic jam. The entire plaza, which has now been redone, but the trees and all that, the plaza was covered in people running and jumping in different directions. I don't know how they weren't crashing into each other. It was like they were all spring-loaded, bouncing. The adrenaline, you could feel it. And I'm doing a live shot, and I tell the photographer, do not turn on that light. Moths to a flame, man. I will be getting run over. And, I mean, I'm not the biggest guy. I'm not a former offensive lineman. I'm plenty big enough. 6 feet, 200 pounds. And I'm like, I got no chance. I will get steamrolled. Finally turn it on. Sure enough, moths to a flame. People are hanging out of cars screaming, woo! Woo! Yeah, Game 5 Friday at 7, man. Come on, calm down. Yeah! I saw this and I thought, oh, people will be so out of control. I do wonder if it'll matter as much. The town was bigger and more tightly wired, and there are more people here who haven't lived here their whole lives, so maybe that dilutes it a little bit. Nah, it'll be crazy. It'll be nuts.
No, if they ever get back there, it'll be wild.
They took the grass out on that interchange on I-80 at 1300 South, but that was all grass, and they mowed Go Jazz and a logo into the grass. I mean, the town was out of control. It was taking over lawn mowing. I saw this. Darren Peters is going to be the first. Yeah! Yeah! Let's go! Right now! I could just see people on the plaza, man. They were out of control. It was awesome. And the good thing is, there was no Wrigley Field bleacher brawl that we were talking about yesterday. There was none of that. I didn't see anybody get beat up. I didn't see anybody brandishing weapons. Nobody drove onto a sidewalk. But I'm telling you, they were cruising up and down, screaming, absolutely packed. Out of their mind. The Nets owner says the Knicks title run was embarrassing. He insisted that crosstown rivals' recent success will not alter Brooklyn's rebuild trajectory. I agree. You're not going anywhere. You've been going anywhere for a while. You got no ideas. Suns are going to install an exterior video display ahead of All-Star games. Shouldn't every NBA arena have this? Shouldn't every NBA arena be a gathering point? Will fire marshals complain? Is that the problem? Video boards used to be, we're going to go into the Wayback Machine here. You're going to love this. You're not going to, you have been born, you're spoiled. I resent you. It's day 3. I resent you, Alex.
For video boards?
I resent you for so many things, and I'm going to list them in the next segment. You get so many things I didn't get when I was your age. Now, I have to admit, I got this sense of discovery. I mean, every year we were getting Christmas gifts as sports fans. What? You can what? Wow. But you get them all. You're spoiled. You got them all right away. You don't know what it's like to have the NCAA Tournament Sweet 16 televised, or not televised. You do know what it's like to have it televised. I can remember the first time I was over to friends and I saw, what? You could put the NCAA Sweet 16 on TV? Wow. What? Video boards in a stadium? You can go to the game and get replays? Don't get me started on phones.
I can watch it from my pocket.
Spoiled. You are going to watch it. You're going to watch it during the show. You're not even going to pay attention to PK and I. You'd be watching the British Open or Wimbledon. We don't do a show on Sunday, or you'd be watching an NFL game from London or Germany. That's why we don't do Sunday shows, because we can't get you to pay attention. We resent you. All right, I spent too much time on this. That's excellent. They're putting a video display outside. All stadiums and arenas should have them. Big gathering point. Come on down. Not everybody can afford to go in. The games, the prices are just unreal. Mind-blowing. That's where you're getting screwed, Alex. That's what, when I start picking on you, you got to learn to stand up for yourself. You know, DJ, you got into games for nothing. Do you see what they're charging me? Where am I supposed to come up with that kind of disposable income? Don't lecture me, DJ. That's what you need to bring with me. All right, DJ and PK.
#NFL.
I think Mexico City probably be or Monterrey. I think those would be probably if I was a bet man, I would say those would probably be the next spots for the NFL. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, you've seen the Mexico City game when it was Cardinals and Niners. It was like a sea of red. And so it's pretty incredible. We had Sam Darnold is not in this season. We shot the second season. This is our second season actually down there. And he came out this last season, and the amount of Seahawk fans that came out of nowhere just to come see him show up to the game was pretty incredible and special. And I think when most guys get out there, it's a little bit unexpected for them. But yeah, for me, if I had a bet, I would say probably Mexico would be the next stop.
No, you're wrong. And if they do it, it won't work. Period. Should have cut that off. I got no patience this morning. I don't know what it is. Maybe this thing's haunted. Whatever haunts PK every day is now haunting me. Do you think the studio's haunted? Is that the problem?
It could be.
Here's the deal. I know multiple teams that have gone down there in multiple sports. And players get told, you can't leave the hotel. That's what they get told. You cannot leave the hotel. It's not safe. You're a target. Now, I don't know. Mexico's got a ton of big-time athletes making a ton of money. And they move around in the city. And this isn't just a Mexico problem. I've heard this all over Central America and South America. There are players from Venezuela and Colombia, depending on what's going on in the country. They don't want to go home because it's not safe. You're such a target. There's such poverty. There's such crime. We are all spoiled with the amount of safety we have here. And it's not that dangerous things don't happen here, because they do. Obviously, it's in the news every day. But no, it's different. When a player comes to Major League Soccer and he calls, there's a guy who went to Portland, and he calls a guy in Utah, Javier Morales, and says, what's it like? And Javier says, I don't worry when I go to training, and I don't worry when we get on an airplane. You've got to fly a lot here. It's different. You got to fly to games, and it travels hard, and it'll tire you out. But he said, I don't worry. I leave my wife and kids at home. We live in a neighborhood called Sugar House, and I don't think about it. It's fine. And boom, star player goes to Portland, and Portland wins an MLS Cup because of it. They got good players, but it is such a deal. And we have these things happen occasionally here. There's stories about Kirk Gibson getting held in his garage. I mean, you could certainly be a target here because of your fame and the amount of money you make, but it's way different there. And when players are just flat out told at the airport, you get on this bus, maybe on the tarmac, and you go with a police escort straight to the hotel, security, people with guns on the hotel floor. You don't leave the hotel floor. You go on a bus, you go to the game. You do not go outside the stadium. You go straight into the locker room. And then after the game, straight to the airport. That's how it works. And you can talk to baseball, football, basketball, soccer. You can pick whatever team you want. I've heard this over and over. And I thought that they're going to put teams in Monterey and that you're going to publish people's salaries. I don't see it. I don't see how that works. I don't see how they get the security. I don't see what player wants to be there. I think it'd be a disaster for agency. I think people would be bolting. If you get drafted, you get drafted again. I don't know. I mean, I get them talking about it, and the one-off games are great, and the crowds are awesome. But I just can't reconcile those two things. I've been told all these stories, and then I think guys are going to live down there. I don't see it. Roger Goodell says, no doubt the NFL have a team based outside of the U.S. Travel seems massive to me. London seems obvious. Toronto seems obvious, but they don't want to go after the CFL and kill it. And for some reason, it's like the only place the NFL has mercy. I swear the NFL is going to put a triple header on New Year's Day one day. Screw the college game. They don't care. Get out. They're putting games on Monday Night Football, Saturday. They've expanded the playoffs to teams that we don't need. They're going to let in another 8 and 9 team to the playoffs. They let in one last year. They're going to let another one in. Why? College can't have a TV time slot. We must have every time slot. And then they have mercy on Toronto in the NFL. But the Bills flirted with it, but now they got their new stadium, and they're not going. So I guess it's it's London or Germany. But, man, that's a lot of travel. Von Miller begins to work on his dream of being a Dallas Cowboy. Sounds like a nightmare to me, but sure, okay, go be a Cowboy. You can't win the Super Bowl. Jerry's going to meddle and get in the way. Running back Najee Harris has a lot to prove after signing with the Giants. You know, this whole me against the world thing gets tiring, but sometimes it's true, and I think this is a case where it's true. I'm with him. You do have a lot of time. If the NFL thought you were really good, you would not have been available to sign in mid-August. You wouldn't have been. Whether it's age, whether it's decreased production, whether it's injury, whatever it is, if you're one of these players, and it seems like I'm reading a different player every day, who's kind of a named guy. I mean, we heard of Keenan before, right? He went to the Colts. And now you heard of Najee, and he's going to the Giants. Yeah, you do have something to prove. Kyle Shanahan dismisses the idea that running back, the McCaffrey would be sitting out for a new deal. I assume he's sitting out because he's hurt. There's all kinds of stats out there. They run him a lot. They give him a million touches because he's really good, and then within a year he breaks down. Soft tissue injuries, major, whatever, and then he breaks down. I didn't think he was holding out for a new deal. I thought anytime he misses practice is because he's hurt again. And that dude takes a beating when he plays. He's really good. But he's 30 now, so you just assume him and really the whole team. They got a handful of guys in their 30s now who are going to be really important to the team. Bucs quarterback Baker Mayfield, we're going to shock a lot of people. I don't think you are, but, you're supposed to say it, so go ahead and say it. I don't think you are. I think that when you see these best division, worst division, which I see on this TV to my left as I fill time all summer waiting for the NFL to start, you can make great arguments, but the best divisions are the NFC North. It's clearly good. The last place team had a winning record. That division's really good. The NFC West, because they had the two best teams in football, and they had the Niners, who had an argument for being team 3, 4, or 5. Cardinals kind of weaken them because they're terrible. And then I think you got to go AFC West, although it's clearly slipped. So I think it's third now until the Chiefs get back to being the Chiefs. And then the worst divisions, it's the NFC South, number 1. That's the worst division in football. So even if you win it, I don't think you're shocking people. Oh, you went 10-7 in that. Well, you had six cake games. Good for you. Probably the AFC South after that. Chiefs' Eric Bieniemy, offensive coordinator, says his wife will make a full recovery after being shot. So good to hear there. And back to my earlier point, safety, bad stuff happens. Bad stuff can happen to you anywhere. Just playing the odds. But good to hear that she's on a road to recovery. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
This is a fascinating wrinkle to hear Michigan people talk about Utah transfers as some of the most important players to your success, which also has the domino effect. Utah lost some pretty good players who could have helped them go and compete for a Big 12 title in year 1 of the Morgan Scalley era. Dig a little deeper. NFL draft exits on the lines of scrimmage. Lots of production going on both lines of scrimmage. And all of a sudden, I find myself, Amanda, thinking that I might actually have more confidence in Morgan Scalley, the coach in waiting, being able to take over and know how to line them up and send them out there than I do in them being able to maintain that 10-11 win standard with so much turnover along both lines of scrimmage. So I'm finding myself looking at Utah as a bit more of a top 35 type of proposition and not as much as a top 25 proposition.
Chip Patterson believing Utah's overrated in the AP preseason. I've seen stuff predicting Utah's going to go 4-5 in conference play. Seems low to me, but I do get the point. Just roll out of bed and think you're going to hit 10 wins. They did lose talent in the transfer portal. They did lose some high-end guys. They are counting on some transfers to come in and play, and there are questions along the defensive line to be sure. I think probably more along the defensive line than the O-line, but there are questions on the O-line. I think the performance against Nebraska in the bowl game is reassuring to people. Okay, that offensive line was awesome, but those guys were gone. They're off to the NFL, and they had to stitch something together, and it looked good. So they can stitch something together this year, and it can look good. Questions to be sure, and if there are injuries, which last year they were pretty healthy along the line, if there's injuries, then what happens, right? And so, but we've seen plenty of good coaches stumble coming out of the gate, and I just don't see how they're going to replace John Henry Daly. Now, I don't want to start quoting sack numbers, and he had a third of their sacks, and we just had Kelly Poppinga in the last segment saying, sacks are overrated, and he's right. Because turnovers are better than sacks, and you don't get turnovers off sacks very often. Once in a while, you get a strip sack, and those are great because the yardage and the chance for a scoop and score off them. But you want interceptions? Well, interceptions you get off hurries, and you get off hits. The guy's hit as he throws, the ball's wobbling up in the air. If you're in a zone, that's an easy pick because everybody can see it. So I get it, but man, John Henry Daly, that's a really good player they lost, and they lost a half dozen of them. So losing those impact guys, I mean, you get good players in, but that's not the same as getting very good or great players in. It's not the same as getting difference makers. So I get the question marks. Stanford has a quarterback, Davis Warren, ex-Michigan QB. He's going to start there. Wisconsin names transfer Billy Edwards Jr. to start a quarterback for North Carolina against TCU in the opener. And Texas puts 4 players on the preseason AP All-America team. The SEC had 14. Only 2 Big 12 players. Cincinnati's guard, whose name I can't say, we'll just call him Evan. Degasdall? Sure. And Houston's Shadre Hurst, 2 offensive linemen. All right, DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
Line drive, base hit center field. Here comes Kelly. Here's the throw to the plate. And Carson is in. and the Cubs take round 2. 4-3, they walk it off in the bottom of the ninth.
To this one is swung on and driven to deep left field. Back goes Ewing at the wall. It's gone into the upper deck. Fly ball to right field. To the corner goes Fernando at the wall. He leaps for Fernando. Yeah! Makes the grab. Fernando up into the air, brings it down. Fernando takes it to deep right field. Bench going back at the wall. Leaps, it's gone. Fernando's second home run of the night.
Fernando Tatis, the start of the game. That Padres-Mets series has turned into quite the highlight factory. Tatis goes deep twice and then pulls a grand slam back into the park. And then, because he's theatrical beyond belief, he just stops and just kind of poses and stands there with no emotion, no disgust, no joy, just kind of stands there. And everybody's like, well, did you get it or not? Because he was running the wall. Sometimes they get to the wall and they're there a long time. They gather and jump and we can all see it. But he was just running, sprinting, sticks his arm up at the top of the wall, comes down. It's just not clear. You don't see the ball bouncing around, but it might be, but it's not. You don't know. And then he just kind of flips it out of his glove into his hand. Yeah, I'm Joe Cool, which, actually, he kind of is. I don't know how to put it, man. The game has changed. He bat flips after home runs, and back in the day, he got stuck in the ribs a few times, but not now. It's all okay now. So he hits 2 homers and pulls a grand slam back in the park, and the Padres win 5-2. A day after they had 3 runners thrown out at the plate by the Mets, as the Mets won Game 1 in that series. So that thing's been a bunch of highlights in that. The big story: Ketel Marte back in Phoenix after a no-show. He got knee testing. The Diamondbacks, who got blown out again. Not quite as bad, but nonetheless 9-4. They lose to Boston, and maybe they would have lost these games anyway. Boston's been playing great, but man, in August in the wild card race, that was a bad time for him to no-show. And it was not a good time, but that was a really bad time. Former Salt Lake Bee Joe Adell, 455-foot homer, a mammoth shot. Guardians beat the Giants 8-1, and. You want to blow out? You want to go home early because this one's over? I'm not leave early. I'm not leave the game early guy. I stay to the bitter end. There's very, very small number of times I've been willing to leave before it was over. Brewers 22, Mariners nothing. You could probably convince me to go. There's not a lot to stick around for at that point. It was 11-0 after 6. You're good. Got somewhere to be. Let's go get something to eat. Okay.
I probably would have left right about there.
Beat some traffic. I don't know. You might have hit the traffic leading at that point. And then they had 2 in the 7th and 9 in the 8th. I didn't look it up. Did they put a shortstop in a pitch or a left fielder or something? Because a lot of times you save the bullpen at that point. Yeah, they left poor. Leo Rivas out there. He's the third baseman. Sure enough, 1 run or 1 inning, he gave up 9 runs. I knew it. Throw the third baseman out there. 22-0. Biggest shutout, tied for the biggest shutout in modern baseball history. Bees won big, 14-3. Yeah. And the minor league, major league combo, Cody Bellinger could begin a rehab assignment Thursday. I mean, Aaron Judge is the big story, but it'd be good to get Bellinger back for the Yankees. Diaz goes to the injured list for the Dodgers. We were just talking about Edwin Diaz struggling, and now, sure enough, okay, he's pitching through something. They want to rest him. But now they're bringing Ohtani back. Throw him in the bullpen. So there's your baseball health updates. DJ and PK.
#BYU.
I don't think we have the exact depth set yet, but Preston Rex is going to play this year. Devon's going to play this year. And then this kid, Journey, he's I don't know, we haven't ruled him out yet. He is explosive. Like, every time he touches the ball, something exciting happens, it seems like. So, and then obviously LJ and Sione are 2 lead guys, and they're both playing really good football.
You got to listen really close, not to what people say, but how they say it, because a lot of these people that we interview get interviewed so often. They are very good on the other side of the microphone, and it is not easy to do. I've done tons of interviews. I've only been interviewed a handful of times. Yeah, I found out I got way more reps on one side. I'm way better at one part of this than I am at the other. Good answer, DJ. Good answer. Very smooth. Am I getting tased right now? I got to pull it together. But A-Rod is smooth. But when A-Rod says Journey. When coaches laugh like that when they say somebody's name, pay attention. That means something. How they say it matters. We can play that again later. Well, you can hit it now if you want. Journey. Okay, I feel 70-yard touchdowns coming. Maybe it's just me, but that's what I thought when I heard it.
I don't think we have the exact depth set yet, but Preston Rex is going to play this year. Devon's going to play this year. And then this kid, Journey, he's I don't know, we haven't ruled him out yet. He is explosive. Like, every time he touches the ball, something exciting happens, it seems like. So,
okay. There was a mini snort, and then there was a giggle. Journey. I could almost feel his head turn when he said it. I haven't seen the video. I'm sure it's out there. That means something to me. It means something to you. I don't know. It's up to you. But, man, when coaches talk like that, look out. BYU Notre Dame sold out. Now there's people advertising you get tickets for $26,000 for the low price of $20,000. You could put a down payment on a condo, or you could go to the BYU game. Stuart Mandel of The Athletic picked BYU to beat Houston in the Big 12 title game. Texas Tech on the title game. He's also the one who picked Utah to go 4-5 in conference that I just saw. I couldn't remember who it was at the time, but it was definitely Stuart Mandel. So you can check that out in The Athletic. DJ and PK.
Hashtag Utah.
I feel like naturally that's just how we practice, that's how we play, and that's just the emphasis of our defense. We're constantly trying to get these big havoc plays, as we call them, just like sacks, PBUs, TFLs, picks, stuff like that. You know, we're constantly sitting there tracking that and trying to get after that. So as a whole, as our defensive line group, as a defense, we're constantly trying to get home. It's a race to the quarterback.
That's Lance Holtzclaw, who I do think you're going to hear his name a lot. I mean, that's... If you're looking at one guy who's going to lead him in sacks, who's going to lead him in pressures, who's going to lead him in tackles for loss, that's a guy who ought to be getting upfield. And I think it's really consensus. Not that I spend a lot of time polling the media, but they tell you to get to practice early, and then everybody stands around talking. So you get a pretty good idea what people think. You start walking around random people. What do you think? Because we've probably got half an hour here. I don't talk to everybody because some of the people stand and sit in the sun, and I'm not doing it. I don't want to know that bad. But the people who stand under the tent, I'll talk to them all day long. Nate Ritchie's back. Utah, adding a safety there, adding experience, fifth-year senior. Actually played in 2020 in the pandemic year. He played before the south end zone had been rebuilt. He was playing as it was being rebuilt. That'll date him right there. It's like carbon dating with fossils. Whoa, you played before the south end zone was finished? Oh, yeah. All right, I remember when. So the roster depth, keep building it, keep revealing these new guys. Who's going to emerge? Trey Reynolds, Nate Ritchie, Lance Holtzclaw. Who's going to star? Who's going to provide depth? All right, DJ and PK.
Hashtag RSL.
Here's a ball up the right sideline for Yedlin with a lot of space. Racing across midfield. Back four retreating. He goes into the left channel. He goes central. Nutmegs. Leaves it for Gozo. Toe poke and a goal. Left side. Gozo beats the keeper. Bond goes to ground. The ball rolls into that far side panel. Gozo has his fourth goal, and RSL has a 2-goal lead. Got to play direct now. Sure enough, there's a 40-yard ball for RSL out of the back for Spearings. He turns, gets to midfield. Through ball for Gozo. We'll see if the flag stays down. It's down for now. Gozo into the area. Gozo shot. Gozo scores! And the flag stays down. And RSL has a 3-0 lead. Philip Quinton with a foul, and he got away. Nobody called it. Oh, it was a clear grab. RSL into possession. Caliscan to Gozo. Pops it up. Shoots. Scores!
Well, there's the end of the Gozo highlights. It's finally official. Major League Soccer people and Crystal Palace people are arguing over details because the league actually owns the contracts of the players, so every deal is more complicated. There's a third side. It's not a two-way deal. It's a three-way deal because it's RSL and the league and Crystal Palace. Super complicated. But Gozo's deal is finally done. He's been over there for like a week. So now RSL finally has an open roster spot. And if you're wondering if they're looking, I was told yesterday, Kurt Schmid's in Europe right now looking. I was actually told where he's looking, what country, but I don't think we're supposed to talk about that. I got to hold on to that. I don't know what club, man, dude. I've heard what country, but there's a limited number of targets, so just sit on that one for a while. All right, but he's in Europe. He's looking. They got to add somebody. They are shorthanded. DeAndre Yedlin is the best option right now. He's played wingback, but I don't think he can play wingback for 90 minutes, twice a week, every week for the next 6 weeks. And they only have 1 or 2 open midweek dates in there. They are going to be playing a lot, including tonight. FC Dallas, a team that just jumped over them in the standings. Dallas, a very short turnaround. They played and won on Sunday. It was their first win since May. Obviously, there was a World Cup break in there, but nonetheless, they had not been playing great. But they did get the win on Sunday. And they got 1 day to recover, 1 day to travel, and play again Wednesday. That's a brutal schedule. At elevation, I mean, Dallas has got to be complaining about that schedule and hating it. Why do we have to play on Sunday before we go to Utah on Wednesday? That's horrific scheduling. Advantage, RSL. Horrific scheduling. Tonight, pregame at 6:30, kickoff at 7:30 here in the Zone. And now RSL, because they just dropped 2 points, they got to get 3 tonight. They're going to Orlando. They got to fly cross country. They're going to have to rest some guys at some point. I think it makes sense that you would go for it at home and then rotate guys, get the 3 now and then rotate as many guys as you need to on the weekend in Orlando. All right, that's what's trending. This segment sponsored by Shamrock Plumbing. No job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Question of the day's next. Stay with us.
Over 2 decades of sports radio dominance in Utah. My favorite. This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
KSL Sports Zone and BI Meals are honoring people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the Youth Sports Volunteer for the BI Meals Hero of the Week, KSLSports.com/contest. Question of the morning, ESPN founder Bill Rasmussen passes away at the age of 93. What is his legacy? What a visionary, man. And if you are of Alex's generation, the captain, I don't think you understand it. Honestly, even if you're 40, things were changing pretty quickly because Bill Rasmussen founded ESPN 47 years ago. And he understood one thing, and I will never forget this. My parents always stayed up and watched Johnny Carson. That was the biggest thing. Johnny Carson. Oh, he was hilarious. So, you're a little kid. You want to be able to stay up late, and you can't do it. I mean, you're 8 years old, and you just crash. Then I stayed up and watched Johnny Carson. I started seeing all these showbiz guests and all that. And I asked my dad one day, How come he doesn't have athletes on? My dad looks at me and goes, because they're not that big a deal. Now, is that not a hilarious thing in 2026? Yeah, they are. They sell $1 billion worth of shoes. They can sell $1 billion worth of movies. They can sell $1 billion worth of soda. They can sell $1 billion worth of fill in the product. Trucks, beer, chips. I don't know. What else have you seen athletes sell? They are a huge deal. Some of them can't go outdoors. Like Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan, you think they can just walk around? The Lakers came to town. Somebody said, Shaq's in the mall. DJ, go find Shaq. I had to go out with a photographer and find Shaq and get video of the dude. Dude was standing in a store buying something. It's the old mall. It was Crossroads. It's torn down now and been rebuilt. And Stockton found out about it and then yelled at Rod Zundel to yell at me. He never yelled at me, though. He just yelled at Rod to yell at me. You tell David James I saw that. That was BS. It was back when athletes watched the news. There was a time people didn't realize athletes were a big deal. There was a time people didn't realize that we would watch sports every day of the week. There was a time people didn't realize we would watch sports in prime time. The only thing there in prime time, Olympics, World Series, and Monday Night Football. That was it. Bill Rasmussen came along and said, I'm going to start a business, and I bet people will watch sports at night. I bet people will watch the NCAA Tournament Sweet 16. That wasn't on TV when I was in junior high and high school. I didn't get on TV until I was in college. And I was back home from college. I was at high school buddies, and I went over there, and it was like, I don't know, 6:30 at night or something. I ate dinner with my parents. I went over to see Phil, and we lived out in the sticks. Cable had not arrived yet. Walked in, and he had ESPN on, and the NCAA tournament was on, and Louisville was playing Kentucky. And I was amazed. You know what we did? We sat down and watched the game. We talked during commercial breaks. We were locked in. This is awesome. They're televising the NCAA Sweet 16 now. Yeah, I know. There are so many things that are on TV now. Thursday night football, Sunday night football. I do think that TBS was there in the early days. They were kind of looking at ESPN going, hey, I'll bet they'd watch the NFL with a Sunday night game. It was now, NBA doubleheader. I got a job. My first job in radio. I was a sophomore in college, part-time job, and it was at KDB Radio in Santa Barbara, and they had the Laker. They're part of the Laker radio network, so they would carry Laker games. So they needed to hire someone to run the board on Sunday and Monday because stuff wasn't automated yet, and I had to run the board on Sunday and Monday, and the Lakers played almost every Sunday night on ESPN. And so I would listen to Chick Hearn call the game, and I would play the local spots. There were regional spots and local spots. I would play the local spots, follow the log, and play the spots, and do station IDs. And other than that, I'd watch the game. And the radio was like 2 seconds in front of the TV. So Cooper would be lining up a jump shot. Magic over to Coop. Shot. And I'd hear Chick, shot is good. and then Cooper would just be launching the shot. A little disorienting there. This whole notion, we get to watch so much sports, you specifically. You've been watching so much sports your whole life. You owe Bill Rasmussen. I didn't get it. PK didn't get it. That's why he was so addicted to WOR. The Mets are on. The Mets are on. I got to get home. WGN was such a big deal. They were just at the forefront of, people watch sports every hour of every day. No, you can't do sports on weekdays. I mean, everybody's at work. No, everybody isn't. You can do it. It's totally changed the landscape. College football, and here it's known because there's a lot of BYU fans, and actually I think Utah and Utah State fans know too. The first year that the Supreme Court there was a Supreme Court decision, Oklahoma and Georgia sued the NCAA. The NCAA is like, we can only have 1 or 2 games on TV every week because otherwise people won't go to the games. I'll take stupid for 500, Alex. Yeah, they will. They want to see their team. It's fun to go to games and sit next to each other. The energy the crowd gets from the crowd is awesome. You don't get that on your sofa. It's less expensive. It's more convenient. The fridge is closer. Concessions are way less. But you lose out on that energy. It's fun to be in there when the crowd explodes, when somebody breaks off a big run or makes an interception or catches a touchdown pass. Love the roar of the crowd. It's awesome. But guess what? It'd be okay if you televise games. And the Supreme Court told Oklahoma and Georgia, yeah, it turns out you own the games, not the NCAA. Go ahead, televise them. So ESPN starts putting them on, and the first live thing they do is BYU and Pitt, and Robbie Bosco, and Pitt's ranked number 3 and gets beat and ends up being a 500 team, and BYU goes undefeated in 84. Cutting-edge stuff. You take football in prime time for granted. There's Monday Night Football, and no one figured it out. Monday Night Football works. Maybe Sunday Night Football would work. Maybe we should be showing college games Saturday night in prime time. No, I'm sorry, we can't do that. Bridge too far, people. Calm down. Bill Rasmussen figured it all out, put ESPN on the air, and you can hate ESPN or love ESPN. Some people love Stephen A. Smith, or he wouldn't make the tens of millions of dollars he makes. And obviously some people loathe him and rip him all the time. And the same for Pat McAfee. You can love him. And I guess he's negotiating a $16 million deal now. Or you can hate him. What's he doing wearing a T-shirt on TV? Bro TV. Well, people will watch sports. Honestly, this job, sports talk radio didn't exist until about 10 years after ESPN. Radio executives are like, I don't know, maybe we don't need a 45th classic rock station. Maybe we don't need a 12th news talk station. Maybe we've talked enough about traffic and politics. Let's try sports. That was a late 80s, early 90s thing as that took off. Salt Lake, it was early to mid-90s when it took off. Because when I got here in 92, there was no sports talk radio. So thanks to Bill Rasmussen for figuring out people really like sports and maybe we should have more of it on radio and TV. Worked for me. Didn't get here in time for my childhood. I can be bitter about that. Sure worked for my career, though. Thanks, Bill. You're lucky. You don't know. All the things we get. It's unreal.
I do enjoy how easily available everything is and how everything is televised. I can go home and watch Toledo football if I wanted to.
If you want to, right? And then, I think we're going to launch ESPN2. By the time ESPN2 was launched, he was out of the company. He did the early years, and I think they got a quote from Chris Berman because he's, one of the guys who remembers the early years and was there, one of the original employees. But, man, Bill launched it without his vision. Just in little old Bristol, Connecticut. Why is ESPN in Bristol, Connecticut? Because Bill was, and land was cheap. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, you were chasing interviews yesterday. You're doing it again today. Bill Bender, the Sporting News, president of the Football Writers Association of America. All right, we're talking football with Bill Bender at the top of the hour. John Talty from CBS Sports talking football at 8:30. Ron McBride in studio at 9 o'clock. Got a ton of football on the way. Stay with us.
Brings you better coverage of the teams you're passionate about than these guys.
Try some more.
This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK, the captain. Alex Nabel has just told me we have a pair of RSL tickets to give away. You want to give them away right now to see Dallas tonight? All right, Real Salt Lake, FC Dallas, 7:30 tonight. If you want to go to the game, well, you can buy tickets, obviously. But first, you can try to win them right now. Caller 12, 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. All right, we're all about gratitude and fortunality. Is fortunality a word? Sure, why not? The fortunality we have of being in this place at this time. And I say that because I just saw, what is trending on social media here, today's news. Athletics Las Vegas ballpark hits roof milestone amid Bally's sale talks. All right, I'll click on it. I'll bite. I've retweeted a couple of them. You got to go through the whole thread. We are so fortunate here that in the history of sports here, we've had a couple of well-capitalized, that means very wealthy, not cash poor, owners who've owned our teams, and they're locally based. They live here. They're emotionally and financially tied to the area. You go to another city, and you get someone who doesn't quite have the money to do what they want to do, but they own the team anyway. Or you get somebody who's out of town, who's just interested in leveraging you for money versus some other town that they can leverage for money. And if you haven't lived through that and the stress and tension, and in some cases massive disappointment and disillusionment that creates. I saw it early when I was in college with the Clippers leaving San Diego and moving. And then I saw it late with the Chargers moving. And it sucks. It's not like it only happened in San Diego, right? Sonics fans, they know what happened in Seattle. Blazer fans are living their nightmare right now. New owner comes in, give me everything. Yeah, we'll see if I'll sign. Quite the negotiation. Cleveland lost the Browns. Baltimore lost the Colts. Houston lost the Oilers. Montreal lost the Expos. Kansas City lost the Kings. I mean, just go on and on with these teams that have moved. And just because you get it doesn't mean it's all awesome, right? I mean, we have the Utah Mammoth now. They moved from Winnipeg to Arizona, bounced around different arenas. Hockey fans in Arizona, man, they had to live the nightmare. And then their loss was our game. And people here love it. And honestly, the Clippers, we just stolen them from Buffalo before that. I don't know that Buffalo could support football, basketball, and hockey. Not a bigger market. But for whatever reason, they bolted. And they were just in San Diego temporarily. Out-of-town owners, when you're in town, you don't tend to do this. Now, I will say it can happen. The Rams left St. Louis despite the fact they were owned by a guy who was born in Missouri. So it can happen. But, man, when you are sitting on the Wasatch Front, you're sitting in the state of Utah, and you look at who's owned the Jazz, and you got people who born here, lived here, probably going to die here, emotionally invested, and have the money to run the team. And it was tight. Larry Miller, back in the day, right before Alex was born, right about 2000. Were you born in 2000?
99. November 99.
I'm trying to think when he opened the racetrack because I know when and where it was. I heard him say it, and it was the opening of the racetrack. And the cost had, I think they were going to originally spend $6 million, then went to 10 or 12, and ended up costing $80 million. And he said it was going to cost more. I don't know if it went to 90 or 100. I don't know what the final number was. He built that racetrack out in Tooele. And I'd asked, Larry, can you imagine you're doing this? I mean, he could only afford to buy half the Jazz at $6 million when he bought them, and now he's pumping in more than 15 times that on a racetrack out in this. He said, no, I've been really fortunate. You know, his fortunes changed in those first 10, 15 years he owned the Jazz. His businesses really took off. And looking at all this, I mean, Bally's, they're building a ballpark, but do they have the money to finish it? Are they going to sell the land around it? It's just nonstop drama with the Athletics. And people in Oakland getting their heart ripped out. They already lost the Raiders, and now they've lost the Athletics. That sucks, and it sucks again. And they lost the Raiders twice. I mean, they got them back and then lost them again. You know, and it's awful. And lucky we don't have to go through it. It'd be traumatic here if we lost the Jazz or the Mammoth. And instead, it looks like, you know, the Millers who sold are now going to get back into Major League Baseball. And we are living a charmed life here. There are a lot of cities, bigger cities, wealthier cities, that are going through a lot. and have lost teams, and it just sucks. This is awful. So, yay for us. All right. All right. They put that big, the steel that's going to hold up the dome, that's going to make it comfortable. And once that stadium gets built, and once they figure out what they're doing with the Rays and get through this whatever labor problems we're going to have in 2027, then we can get to expansion and talk about baseball here in 2031. The countdown's on. All right, DJ and PK. Enough of that. Let's get back to football. We will do that next. Stay with us right here on The Zone.
This is Utah's best coverage of the Utes, Cougars, Jazz, and Mammoth. Here we go. From the guys who have been there for all the biggest moments in Utah sports history. You're listening to DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, and we are joined now by Bill Bender. You read him in the sporting news. Bill, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Good. As the 2025 president of the Football Writers Association of America, when you and all your writer buddies get together and start chatting it up, what do you say about Kyle Whittingham going to Michigan? Because I don't know if you're aware, but that's kind of been a topic around here.
Yeah, just a little bit, right? Well,
right?
I think I've covered the Big Ten for quite a while. I live in Central Ohio, been around that Ohio State-Michigan rivalry pretty much my entire life. So his comments were interesting. You know what? I didn't have a problem with him, though. When you talk about hate, there's a difference between real hate and sports hate. And, yeah, I just assumed, and maybe you could enlighten me on this, if you had been around BYU and Utah that long, it's a different kind of rivalry, but it's not like the intensity around those games. I can feel that one through the TV when I watch that game.
Well, I can feel Michigan-Ohio State through the TV when I watch that game.
Yeah.
And I've both been to Utah, BYU, and watched it on TV, and I can feel it too. I think the difference is, when you're in separate states, you're not necessarily right on top of each other the way you are when you're separated by, 40 miles of freeway. Here, there's marriages, there's kids going to one school when parents went to another. There's high school friends who go to opposite schools. So it's knitted together, in a different way. I'm not so curious. I figure he'll get into the rivalry. Something will happen. He wasn't born with it. So I thought actually some of the comments I read from fans, which are usually crazy on social media, the one that stood out is guys, relax. He just got here. He'll hate him soon enough. We all do. I thought that was nice perspective.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. When you grow up here, and I could probably tell you most of the coaches' records in that game. That's one thing that he is going to figure out is, Ryan Day, for example, great coach, 2-4 against Michigan. Urban Meyer, 7-0 against Michigan. Woody and Bo they're probably the two. Woody had a good record against Michigan. Schembechler had a winning record against Ohio State. But you're defined by that game in a lot of ways. Now, does that change in the 12-team era? I don't know. I think the overall thing with Whittingham at Michigan, however, isn't even about Ohio State. It's about each one of the last 5 years, Michigan, this time of year, we're talking about something that's not football. Whether it was a sign-stealing scandal or a recruiting scandal, Sharon Moore, they do have an adult coaching the team, and I think that is huge. And I think that rubs off. And from what I've seen in the fall highlights, it's going to be what I expect, a more physical, more disciplined, pretty good football team, and we'll see what they can do. Against, in fairness, their schedule's brutal. They do have a very tough schedule in the Big Ten this year.
Agree with that. If they get to 10-2, they're a playoff team. They'll have a bunch of quality wins. Can they get to 10-2? That we've talked to other people from Michigan who think that they're going to end up winning 7 or 8. Exactly what you said, because the schedule is so tough. There's one issue, and I don't know that you can answer it, but you're here, so you can try, Bill. Forever, the players at Utah and BYU, even if the NFL thinks they're good enough, when you read or you listen to college football people, including Barry Switzer on a Sugar Bowl pregame show, there isn't one person playing at Utah who'd be recruited by Alabama. One of the craziest things I've ever heard. Half that defense played in the NFL. Pretty sure they could have played at Alabama. Michigan comes in and takes about a half dozen transfers, including a guy who led the team in sacks, and John Henry Daly was awesome, and he had the Achilles injury later. His stats would have been even better. And I'm curious, are those guys going to be – they were stars here. Are they going to be stars at Michigan? Or are they going to be solid players at Michigan? Can Utah find stars and recreate that and have their impact, difference makers? How do they do it when it's been about development? You can't just lose guys because you got to start them out somewhere and get them better until they turn into dominant players. So I'm wondering how bad it hurts Utah and how much it really helps Michigan. And if you can answer either one of those things, I'm all ears.
Well, I mean, right up the road in Berea, Cleveland, the Cleveland Browns took a pretty good Utah guy. I think Spencer Fano is going to play there for the next decade. And the Browns actually, for all the jokes about the Cleveland Browns, I mean, they drafted some good football players this year. So, yeah, I think that's the thing I'm watching. Does Daly, is he as good in the Big Ten? I think it's going to be different. So, like, to me, if he got like 8 sacks, that would be fine because you're going up against, Iowa tackles now and Ohio State tackles. That is one difference. Those schools, Iowa in particular, produces a ton of NFL linemen. So you're playing against Oklahoma this year. And I think he'll be a successful player. I think Utah, I'm not going to sit here and say, rip on Utah at all. I've watched Utah play Michigan twice when Whittingham was there, and Utah was the more physical team. Utah was the more explosive team offensively, and Utah had the better quarterback in both of those games. So what are we doing? I think they are but if he can take that formula and apply it to Michigan, only good things are going to happen.
I've seen predictions for Utah anywhere from second or third in the league down to the middle of the league, 4 and 5. What are your expectations for Morgan Scalley in year one on the job?
Well, you got quarterbacks, right? That always helps in that league. That quarterback play, one-score games, fourth quarter finishes. It's going to be like that. I still have them in the top 25. I have them in that upper tier of Big 12 team. I think there are 4 teams. If you gave me how many teams do I need to find a Big 12 champion, I would probably stick with Texas Tech, BYU, Utah. And I do like Houston a lot this year. I'm a fan of Willie Fritz. I think their quarterback situation is very good, and they won 10 games last year, and you got to be impressed with what he's building there. So those are the 4. And, BYU is going to have a good team around that running game and around Bear. Texas Tech's the X factor. I've moved them up and down and around our rankings this summer because of the Brendan Thorsby stuff. We'll see if Will Hammond can step in. I like their defense, though. They have some really good pieces back on that defense. Ben Roberts, A.J. Holmes. Those are NFL players on that side of the ball. Their defense was amazing last year. And I don't think, it's going to drop off a little bit, but not that much.
At BYU, the big story lately has been Kalani Sitake not getting all the resources he was promised when he turned down the Penn State job and stayed, to the point that he said on camera in an interview situation, getting asked about it, he said, my agent's handling that. So it's about as much confirmation as you need right there. And I'm just curious, your experience, this is not the first time that a coach has wanted more resources or thought they were promised more resources or guaranteed more resources, and the school didn't deliver them. And whether it's the AD or the president or the regents or whatever, he probably got 20 examples of this going sideways. How destructive is that? How easy is that to overcome? How much does it impact the season that's right in front of them?
Well, within the locker room, I don't think it's destructive because you can use that. You can say, you can take on that us against the world mentality. Resources and those kind of things, that goes, you said it. I've heard coaches tell me this. They were promised this and that when they were at a certain school. That goes back to Jimmy Johnson at Miami, and then he ends up leaving for the Dallas Cowboys, right? So, and the rest is history. I do think it can be something between coach and administration long term. And like if he's saying the agent handle it, you let the agent handle it. I do know Kalani's a really good football coach. He is. They're the one team that actually has a playoff gripe the last couple of seasons. They're the only school that's won double-digit games each of the last 2 years out of a power conference that hasn't made the playoff. So I sense the frustration. I mean, Penn State's dealing with that too, though. You're going to be dealing with that everywhere.
You mentioned that stat about BYU, and everyone's got a hold of that. I've seen that stat everywhere. Do you think the Big 12 is finally going to be a two-bid league, or is it going to be a one-bid league again?
Well, that depends how that shakes out. Like BYU penalized a little bit. You wonder, okay, well, if they wouldn't have played Texas Tech in the regular season, would they have made the playoffs? I think BYU was a great example of a school that made the case. Last year, a 16-team playoff would have been pretty cool because we would have got BYU, Texas, Vandy, Notre Dame all in the playoff, and we could have settled in on the field. Now, drawback to that is I contend that college football, it's more fun when we're arguing. It's so much more fun. That's why it makes it different than other sports. We said, and we're still talking about Texas not making the playoff last year. So to answer your question, can be a two-bid league. Going to be tough in any given year. I think the ACC and the Big 12 are going to compete. One will get two, one will get one. And remember, every year Notre Dame gets in the playoffs, it's taking one away from somebody else. And it's probably going to take away from the ACC and the Big 12 in most cases. And I do think Notre Dame is going to make the playoff this year. What a fun game against BYU, though. That'll be a good one.
I'm curious what you think of this whole thing. I think a lot of times the TV's impact on college football is big, but it still gets overplayed. But to me, this whole playoff thing, you can't oversell that the SEC versus the Big Ten is really ESPN versus Fox, and who gets to own the whole tournament or who's going to get to bid on it and maybe get half of it. I mean, this to me is just 100% a TV thing. And because of that, do you think it's going to get ironed out, or are they both going to stay in their corners with their TV partners and just stare at each other and we stay with the 12-team playoff?
Maybe. I mean, is expansion, is that what we want? I don't want to watch a 24-team playoff. I don't sense, you may sense differently, I don't sense the fans are clamoring for 24 teams at playoffs. I think, if we're going to expand 16 or 20 even would make more sense. But to answer your question, yeah, the TV piece of it drives the bus. These are TV shows now. And how do we make the best TV show when it should be, let's make the best playoff product possible, because the regular season's absolutely changed. It's completely different than it was 10 years ago in terms of what the consequences are for losing a football game, especially in the Big Ten and SEC. And the Big Ten and the SEC are really struggling for control of college football, both on the field and off the field. Right now, on the field, the Big Ten's winning. Off the field, I think it's a tug of war where they're going to have to come up with a number. I don't think it'll expand next year. I think we'll still be at 12 for a couple more years, and then we'll look and see if they can get that thing to 16 or 24. Just keep in mind, the Bulls are locked in for a while. So the Bowl, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, the Rose Bowl, et cetera, they're going to still have the semifinals and the quarterfinals for the foreseeable future.
All right, let's get back to this season. Coaches on the hot seat, what jobs might come open? This became a local story, obviously, because Penn State came open and they came after Kalani Sitake. I could make cases for USC. Maybe I can make a case for Oklahoma or Texas. After what happened at Penn State, is everybody just on the hot seat all the time?
Yeah, I mean, a hot seat's kind of like a subjective term more than ever. I was there at Penn State and Oregon last year at the game, and it went into double overtime. And you just think, Drew Aller doesn't throw that interception, Penn State scores a touchdown, they win the game. James Franklin's still the coach there. So it's very interesting to me that's the way we're doing it. A couple of coaches keep an eye on early. One, I mean, it's easy. Bill Belichick, North Carolina. How much longer are we going to do this? It's been an embarrassing headline one after another, and they got to win on the field. And they open in front of everybody in Dublin, by the way, that TCU game. So if they get embarrassed there, it's only going to get worse. I think Mike Norvell at Florida State has to have a better year. Looking at Dave Aranda at Baylor, big year with DJ Lagway at quarterback. They've got to be better. They've had a couple losing seasons, and then Luke Fickell in the Big Ten at Wisconsin. Though I think they're in on him more than the perception is. I don't know that he's going anywhere.
The University of Houston, you said you're a big Willie Fritz fan. Explain why you like him, because a lot of people are saying, hey, they won a bunch of close games, And that's going to, it's bound to boomerang. It's going to come back on them. They're going to lose some close games. But there are other people, and you sound like one of them, and think, yeah, he was winning games by 3 points last year. He's going to be winning games by 10 points this year. He's just built them up.
That's part of program development. That goes back to Bobby Bowden, where he said, when you build a program, the progression is you lose by a lot, you lose by a little, you win by a little, you win by a lot. So the close game thing, at least you're winning them. You make more headlines when you lose them. I'll tell you, when I got sold on Willie Fritz, it wasn't even at Houston. He was at Tulane. They were playing Ohio State when Ohio State had Urban Meyer, part of that machine. And in the fourth quarter, I just kind of was watching the game, and I'm like, these Tulane guys are still going all out. They're getting beat by 20, but they're not like quitting. And you can see quitting, and you can't measure that on Pro Football Focus. So I was like, all right, this guy has them playing hard 4 quarters. I like that. And, it progressed at Tulane, and it's progressed at Houston. That means they play hard. He's got good quarterbacks. He's got a good defense. They got Shadre Hurst from Tulane, All-American, preseason All-American guard. So I like their offensive line. And, maybe some of that luck runs out, but it won't change my opinion of Willie Fritz as a head coach. I think he's a really good one.
You haven't mentioned Arizona in the Big 12. Obviously, they've got a quarterback now in his 4th year. He's really been through the fire, right? A season so good, his coach got a job at Washington. A really bad season, they had his coach on the hot seat. Another really good season. So he has done it all there, but they really feasted on turnovers last year, and so can they replicate that again? Do you see Arizona as a dark horse in the Big 12, or you just see them as a nice team that'll win 8 or 9 games or whatever, and there you go?
Well, if it's Arizona or Kansas State, which one is it? They could maybe upset that pecking order I was talking about earlier. Noah Fifita, obviously, ton of career touchdowns. That when I was researching them this offseason, I just realized how long he had been there. Yeah. And like you said, it's been ups and downs. I'm like, wow, he's still there. And then Kansas State, same speech with Avery Johnson. Can Colin Klein and him combine and make the right moves and offensively to be one of those Big 12 contenders? Those are the 2 schools that I think could peek into there. Arizona certainly got to be a little more consistent, but I still like that top 4 more. I like Houston. I like BYU, Utah, and I've talked about Texas Tech already. So I think that's what you're looking at. But if Fifita, he's a guy, when you're watching them late at night, when he gets hot, they're tough to beat.
Is this make or break for Deion Sanders in Colorado this year, the 4th year?
It's interesting. I saw that story yesterday about how the TV ratings have dropped, obviously. I mean, no kidding. They were 3-9. So it is a big year. I can't speculate on his health. It sounds like from what he said and what's been reported that he's doing a lot better, which is great news. Now on the field, they need Julian Lewis to be better. They need to be more congruent on both sides of the ball. I think it's a really interesting opener against Georgia Tech. And but I never, I never place win totals on that kind of thing, because you could be 6-6 and get just absolutely nuked in your last 3 games, or you could be 4-8 and compete in your last 4. So it's hard to say what the win total needs to be. I would say they need to get back to a bowl game at least.
Yeah. Lane Kiffin, are they going to win big at LSU? He's got a better platform than he's had before. I mean, LSU's done it, right? And Ole Miss hasn't. He took Ole Miss a long way and famously left before the playoff, I know. But if you get past all the sizzle, what does the steak look like?
We're going to find out. This is the defining stop of his career. I know we all know what happened last year. No need to rehash that. I mean, but bringing in that many portal players, Sam Levitt coming off the foot surgery. I know Lane Kiffin can coach. I mean, it all overshadowed that Ole Miss was probably some of his finest work. I mean, they had like the 7th best record among Power 4 programs during his tenure, which is incredible at Ole Miss. And I think, to me, I don't want to say honeymoon. It's a poor term, but I would give him some grace this year because it is year 1. And they do have a tough schedule. They play Clemson and Ole Miss and Alabama and Texas and Tennessee. It's a brutal schedule, but he's going to have that every year. I think the real pressure grows going into year 2 and year 3 because the expectation has to be Ole Miss went to the semifinals last year. LSU's been to the playoff 1 time. Now, granted, really good 1 time, right? It's an unbelievable team. But the other thing he's facing is 3 of the last 4 guys that coached there won national titles. So the expectation isn't a semifinal. They're going to expect Lane Kiffin to deliver a national title.
Bill, we'll leave it right there. We know you got to run. Appreciate the time. Thanks for talking college football with us.
Hey, anytime. Thanks for having me on. Take care.
Bill Bender, Sporting News. Read him wherever you go. DJ and PK. More football in just a moment. John Talty joining us from CBS Sports. He's got a story out. We got to get to the bottom of this because he's been digging up the thing everybody wants to know. How much NIL money do people really have? How much of it's real? How much is the smoke and mirrors? How much is my school behind? How much is my school ahead? How much is a rival school behind or ahead? How much does Texas Tech really have? And why aren't they in the top 10 in the country? We'll get to that with John Talty next. Stay with us.
This is Utah's best coverage of the Utes, Cougars, Jazz, and Mammoth. Here we go. From the guys who have been there for all the biggest moments in Utah sports history. You're listening to DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, KSL Sports Zone. John Talty joins us now. John, good morning.
Appreciate you having me on.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. John Talty writes for CBS Sports, and I'm curious. So did you come up with this story idea, or did one of your bosses get a hold of you and say, we want you to write about NIL. Who's got how much and rank them? Because that sounds a little bit like Mission Impossible. I mean, does a little device explode at the end? How does that work?
Yeah, it's funny. So I did it with my colleague, Chris Hummer, and I was actually going back through my text the other day, and it was around when Jordan Seaton went to LSU, and we were talking to some of the different schools that were involved in it and hearing some of the numbers, and we started doing the math. It's like, man, yeah, that to Sam Levitt, like LSU's number has to be huge. And it was back in January, like we really need to see if we can figure out who exactly are the highest paying schools. And so we've done some stuff in the past, like Chris and I have teamed up to, figure out what's the average rate for a transfer QB and things like that. So we have experience in the NIL spending range, but it is almost an impossible task. People lie to you everywhere. Some people overrate how much they have. Some people underrate how much they have. And so the only way we could think to do it is just talk to as many people as possible. And so, talk to 50 plus, it's probably 60 plus, honestly, and just tried to talk to somebody at every school if possible. But, talk to people who are agents who represent multiple coaches, people involved in deals, just to try to get as accurate a picture as possible as to, what people are actually spending.
At the end, it seemed like when you came up with your top 10, it wasn't that big a surprise. I was more interested in the numbers and in the gaps, but who has the most money? Well, it's the best teams in the Big Ten and the SEC. Thank you, Captain Obvious, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there is major shocks. I think sometimes it's the surprise of who's not in there. And so, for instance, we had a story yesterday looking at a couple of those. Like, I think everyone just assumes Texas Tech is in that group. And, if the Brendan Sorsby scandal doesn't happen, Texas Tech would have been in that group. But you take his, deal off the table, most of it, at least I think they're paying some, but most of that off the table, and they actually dropped below that top group. So there are some, I think, misconceptions as to who's spending the most and who's not. But I think a lot of it was somewhat obvious. But I also think, I don't know how many people know that LSU might be above $50 million this year. I don't know how many people know that Miami was above $40 million last year. So I do think some of the numbers are still interesting to people. And then, at our sister company, 24/7 Sports, we put every Power 4 team into a tier, and that might be where people find more interest of wait, there are that many Big 12 teams below 20 million, stuff like that, which I think, none of that's really been reported before.
So, obviously, there's a lot of interest in the Big 12 here. So, Texas Tech, what's their neighborhood? And then how far back is it to everybody else?
Yeah, they're in the $30 million neighborhood. And, again, if Sorsby was there, they would be high 30s. So, they're low 30s. They're the only one in the $30 million neighborhood for the Big 12. So, that, I think, is kind of interesting. You look at the other Power 4 conferences, ACC, you've got Miami, 40 million plus. SEC, you've got multiple teams. Big Ten, you've got multiple teams. So the Big 12 does not have anybody in the 40 million plus range, and then only has one team in the $30 million range, and then has the most teams out of any of the Power Four conferences below that $20 million number, which is kind of fascinating. There's, based on our sourcing, there's not a single SEC program below 20 million, and really it's nobody really below 25 million. And you have quite a few in the Big 12, programs like Cincinnati and Houston and Central Florida, Kansas. There's quite a few, and so I think that's one of the interesting things I think about what's happening in the sport right now is like you are seeing some of those financial gaps grow. We've seen, Big 12 is getting the least amount of money in its TV deal. That stuff plays a role. You've got some of these huge Big Ten programs with, billion-dollar, donors and all that. Not that the Big 12 doesn't have some of those. Of course they do. But you're just seeing more money flood in, I think, to the Big Ten and SEC. And it plays a role in what we see on the field. I mean, you look at the preseason rankings, like top 2 teams are in the Big Ten. You've got multiple SEC teams in that top 8 or so, and you're not seeing a Big 12 team there. And so sometimes it's obvious, but yeah, if you are spending a lot more money than some of your competition, you might be better. And we're seeing in the Big 12, their spending just is not matching the rest of the Power Four.
Did you come away with a new appreciation for some coaches saying, hey, you're really doing more with less?
Absolutely. I mean, I'll give you an example. Houston is a preseason top 25 team, and they had a very strong year a year ago. And I think they were in the bottom 3, probably bottom 5 in spending a year ago in the Power Four, and they are again below the $20 million range. And so I think there are programs that are going to show us, and kind of, this is a bit of a cliche, but in a Moneyball type approach of where can we find inefficiencies? Where are we able to win? And so for a program like Houston, it's like, hey, we like tough-nosed guys. We can find these 3 stars kind of under the radar gems, and we can turn them into something. And of course, Willie Fritz was able to do that at Tulane, really built that program up before John Summerall got there. He's starting to do it at Houston. So I definitely have an appreciation for that. And on the flip side, especially now that we know some of these big numbers, like I think those programs need to be held accountable. At the end of the year, if you spent $35-40 million on your roster and you go 7-5, like that's a problem. And so I think we're going to see more of that accountability on return on investment of, wow, this program really exceeded what we think they spent. And on the flip side, this program really disappointed relative to the spending that we believe they did in 2026.
Is that what happened at Penn State, and is that what could happen at USC, or am I out of bounds here?
Yeah, I mean, USC is certainly an interesting one. They actually started, I think, a trend last year that other programs are now following, where they went really heavy on spending on their freshman class. And it's kind of bucking what we had seen the trend be. Like, if you put a lot of money in your freshman class, those guys might transfer, they might not pay off. Like, we had seen more like, let's invest in proven veteran guys. We saw, a year ago, Indiana obviously have a lot of success with not only the James Madison guys that came with Kurt Signetti, but also some random and transferred in from Cal. So USC bucked that trend. We're seeing others like Notre Dame and Texas A&M now do it for this recruiting class, but we'll see if it pays off. I mean, when you invest a lot of money in young guys, it could be great, or those guys might not, come along as fast as you hoped, and then you got a lot of money invested in guys who aren't playing on the field. So personally, I am a Lincoln Riley doubter. I have been for a while. They're the team that I think is maybe one of the more overrated teams, not only in the Big Ten, but also nationally. And some of that is just my skepticism as to whether their plan is going to pay off. But certainly they are, if they're not at 40 million, they're just a smidge below. And, to this point, the results have not really, backed up what their spending has been.
John Talty, national college football writer for CBS Sports and 24/7 Sports, joining us. Kyle Whittingham, you mentioned Fritz, has been great at developing 3-star guys. That was the Kyle Whittingham recipe at
They have quite a bit, yeah. If it's not quite double, it's probably pretty close. And obviously, it's well established. They spent a ton of money to get Bryce Underwood, and one of the most historic 8-figure deals that we've ever seen a high school kid get to go to college. So they have a lot of money invested in that program as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm also personally interested. You could probably say the same thing about Matt Campbell, frankly, at Penn State, where Iowa State did not have a very strong NIL program, almost to the point people have told me that like Matt almost kind of liked it. Like, I don't really have to think about it. Like, yes, I have things that I'd like to have, but also like I'm not getting the pressure of having a lot of NIL money. So how do they adjust? Do they keep doing what they've been doing, or do you kind of start shopping in a new aisle? So we'll see how that works. But I mean, I'll give you a kind of a similar example. Like Indiana, after the success that they've had this past year, like they started telling agents and others, like, listen, like that guy worked for us in the past, but like we don't need to take that guy anymore. We're going for higher guys. So that's what I think you'd like to see with Kyle and Matt at Michigan and Penn State, respectively. And we'll see, what they can sign and also the portal classes that they're able to add. But certainly they have way more money at their disposal than they've been used to, and allows them to attract a different caliber kid than maybe they've been able to get in the past.
Can you really follow the money in the Big 12? I mean, essentially BYU and Utah were teams 2 and 3 last year. BYU's sitting here with these double-digit win teams that haven't gone to the playoffs, and nobody else in the power conferences can say that. Financially, are they basically 2-3, just a long way behind Texas Tech, or is there somebody else underperforming their number, or maybe Utah and BYU are outperforming their numbers?
Yeah, I mean, BYU and Utah are probably right where you put them. BYU is kind of an interesting one where, we got a wide range of insight or answers as to what people thought they were spending. It was all over the place. And so that was one of like the trickier ones, I think, actually to pin down. And I think some of that just kind of, type of kids they recruit, a lot of other programs aren't necessarily competing against them, so they're not always getting a great range as to, what they're paying for different kids. But, certainly, as you well know, like, Kalani came out recently seeming pretty frustrated by some of their spending and resources available. And so there's still maybe a notch below some of those elite programs and a notch below Texas Tech. But I think they have, bumped up their spending, and they are definitely above, the bottom tier of the Big 12, which, I mean, there are programs that are like in the like $15 million range. I mean, some people think that Colorado is below $15 million. I mean, there's some pretty lowish numbers in the Big 12 from what we understand. And BYU and Utah are certainly above that and above that $20 million range.
John Talty joining us, CBS Sports and 24/7 Sports. And as you go through and talk about, and for people who joined us late, you talked about how you talk to coaches, you talk to agents who represent players, you talk to agents who represent coaches. So you've got these, dozens of sources as you compile this. Did you get any sense that people worried about donor fatigue? That, you got to, depending on the school, 20, 30, 40 million this year, but ask them for that 20, 30, 40 million next year and the year after that. And Kyle Whittingham has said, hey, it's exponential increases here. This thing's just taken off, and it's going to continue to grow. Did you get that, or did you get donor fatigue?
Yeah, it's funny. I was actually talking to a group of SEC people yesterday about that exact topic, and they're like, we really haven't seen it. But I think it's school specific. I think I'll go back to what I was saying earlier, kind of on that return on investment. I think it continues to evolve. And so, at the beginning of this thing, NIL, we saw programs that traditionally had maybe struggled or had been successful in the past and were on down times where it's like, we want to win again. Let's throw in money, right? And we saw Tennessee, Texas A&M, Florida, some of these programs be very aggressive out the gate. And now that we're 5 years into this thing, we're getting a better sense of like, all right, are we spending our money appropriately? Are we like, I kind of want something. If I'm giving you $1 million, like, what am I getting out of it? So I think there's more strings attached to it than maybe there was in the beginning when it's like, I just want to see my team win. So that's part of it. But it's also like, are you asking me to give you a bunch of money for a 6-6 team, or can we actually take a leap? Can we be competitive? So I definitely think athletic directors, who we also talked to for the story, will tell you that there is donor fatigue. I think it's always hard to find money. You don't want to have to keep going to the same people over and over again, which for some schools they have to do. For others, they might have a wider base of people they can go after. And for some, it's, if you're at Michigan, Ohio State, like, there's a lot of people who can give money. If you're at a smaller school, it can be harder to find. So it's a bit of a mix, I would say. Some people think it's a misconception. Other people are like, this is a very real thing for us, and like, we don't know where the money is going to keep coming from. So some people are in great positions, and others, I think, are seeing that this is a bit of a struggle.
My entire life, this school's been terrible, and they've gotten good. And I got to say, when I started thinking about it, I got a ton of respect for Vanderbilt now. My entire life, Vanderbilt got annihilated in the SEC. They were rolling out 2- and 3-win seasons like nobody's business. And then we get to the NIL era, and they go 10-3. And I can't help but think there were a lot of people cheating in the SEC, and Vanderbilt didn't want to do it, and so they got beat. And now that NIL is legit and above board, some people at Vandy looked at each other and like, let's go do this. Let's be good at football. Is that an oversimplification, or is that what's happened at Vanderbilt in the last 5 years versus, 50 years prior to that?
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely truth to that. I think it's a combination of things. They've certainly invested a lot from like an institutional level. Like, they used to have the worst facilities by far in the SEC, like disgusting stuff. And they have pumped in hundreds of millions of dollars and like making that better, making it a place that people want to come to, and having Nashville as a place to help attract players is certainly very attractive. So I think that was part of it. Like, the school had to decide, we're not too good for football. It actually would be good for us to invest in football in terms of attracting students and things like that. And then I think the second part is you've got two, who I believe very smart guys, and Clark Lee, the head coach, and then the general manager, Barton Simmons, who, used to work with us over at 24/7 Sports. Like, I think they know what they want. I think that they are good at identifying it and going after it, and also not just like, we're little old Vanderbilt. Like, they have talked a big game. And I think a lot of us rolled our eyes maybe early on of like, oh yeah, Vanderbilt, you're going to be the best. Yeah, we'll see it when that actually happens. But they, I think, believed it and believed they could be more than just what they've traditionally been. And we've seen them build it up. Obviously, the decision to bring in Diego Pavia and Jerry Kill was super successful, paid off in a big way. And then you kind of roll with that momentum, being able to flip a kid like Jared Curtis, who was a 5-star recruit away from Georgia, to sign with Vanderbilt. Like, they're starting to recruit at a higher level without losing who they are. And so we'll see what the long-term sustainability is of their approach and whether they can keep it up. But they've been an amazing story. And I think there's, the people involved deserve a lot of credit for not just accepting their place in the, the basement of the SEC and deciding we can be more if we try.
Last thing before we let you go, John. How come Notre Dame doesn't have $100 million? I always thought NIL. You got Catholics who love football all over the United States. Notre Dame packs them in wherever they go. They came down to Vegas to play BYU. There were a gazillion Notre Dame fans. They went to San Diego once to see a Navy game. I mean, it's packed that place. They go to Ireland. They pack that place. How come they're not sitting on $100 million?
It's going up. I'll tell you that. Their number's going up. And they are one of the most aggressive programs in the country right now, recruiting the high school class of 2027. We talked to some GMs that are recruiting against them, and it's like they have an insane amount of money. So I do think the money is certainly going up. I think in the past, I would say it was a combination of they had like multiple collectives to start. It felt like they weren't really on the same page. I think the university was a little slow to adopt to it. So they kind of got off to a slow start. And then there's always going to be, and Vanderbilt kind of fits in this bucket as well. We have really high academic standards. That's the priority. We're not just going to take any kid just because he's good. And I think that's eased up a bit, but that was always kind of, I think, one of the challenges that maybe held them back from being just one of the absolute top spenders. But they have certainly, elevated. We have them as one of the top 12 spending programs in the country now. And if they keep up what they're doing in 2027, the class of 2027 moving forward, they will easily be one of the top spending programs in the country.
There you go. Well, that's really interesting stuff, and it was a ton of work, and you had to sort through all the line and half-truths and all that stuff. There was a guy who used to work for the Utah Jazz, Walt Perrin, and he was their scout, and he didn't talk during the year he was scouting, but they always had him be the face of the organization during the workouts leading up to the draft, and he would get asked specific questions. He'd always chuckle and give you a sideways look. He goes, Liars Club is in session. I think you were dealing with the Liars Club. I think Walt's doing the NBA thing, you're doing the college football thing, but I think you have to speak the same language.
Absolutely. Yeah. Walt, now at the New York Knicks. I'm a Knicks fan. He's doing a
okay.
great
You know
job.
all about him then. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, John, we appreciate the time. We appreciate you taking the dive and trying to figure out all the numbers. And even if you can't get them exactly, just kind of ballparking them a little bit is still helpful. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on.
John Talty, you can read that story. He's at CBS Sports and at 24/7. Interesting stuff. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Utah's best coverage of the Utes, Cougars, Jazz, and Mammoth. Here we go. From the guys who have been there for all the biggest moments in Utah sports history. You're listening to DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's Win Tickets Wednesday. We got tickets to see Motley Crue, the return of the Carnival of Sins tour with performances by Tesla and Extreme at Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater September 21st. Tickets are on sale at livenation.com. You can win right now. Caller 12-801-575-ZONE. 2 tickets. Let's go. 801-575-ZONE. You know that Will Ferrell meme? I'm a glass case of emotion. And he's in an old school telephone booth beating on the glass.
Yeah, I've seen it. You
ever use a telephone booth?
No, I've never been in one, but it's like a bucket list item for me.
This is so great having you on the show. All these things that are normal to PK and I, and life moves along, and you just you don't understand. And see, I've been scarred by my childhood. I'm trying to match what my grandmother dropped on me, and I'll never do it. She just looked at me one day. I was talking about, I'm I don't know how old I was. I don't know if it was in high school or college, but I was talking about how, things are changing, right? And she looks at me and she goes, "You think things are changing?" Oh yeah, they're changing. She just super calm, right? Lived 2 blocks from me, nicest lady, freaking adored her. She spoiled me her whole life. She looks at me and goes, "When I grew up, San Diego had dirt streets downtown. There was no pavement. It was all dirt. And I lived to see man walk on the moon." Checkmate. It's over. Throw the towel. Throw the dang towel. That's another movie reference you probably don't get.
No.
That's
I'll have to add it to the list.
Rocky
I've got a whole
movies.
list.
Go check them.
Gotcha.
Throw the towel. Okay. Throw the towel, man. I'm a glass case of emotion. I got a lot of things. There's a lot of stories going on. There's a lot of vibes this morning. I'm feeling bad for Oakland sports fans. They lost the Raiders, they lost the Athletics, and it's back in front because they're putting the steel up that's going to support the roof in Vegas. Except, Bally's might be out of money, and are they selling land around the state? It just seems like a whole drama. It's a whole thing. You got people who have a lot of money, but they don't have quite enough money for what they're doing, and they got to leverage it out of somebody else, and they hold sports fans hostage. It sucks. And Bryce Harper, who's right in the middle of it, and I got to say, I'm not the biggest Bryce Harper fan. He doesn't exude a lot of joy when he plays sports. He's an angry guy. I don't really identify with angry guy. You give me happy, joyful guy bouncing around. Yeah, I get that. Steph Curry hitting shots and then celebrating in the Olympics to win the gold medal. I get that. I understand. I don't get the whole scowl, tough guy. Come on, man. You're making millions and you're playing sports. Come on. But, man, I got it. Bryce Harper nailed it. I mean, 100%. And coming out and, biting the hand that feeds him, which makes it better, and saying it'd be better if Vegas got an expansion team like they did in hockey. Taking somebody else's team, it's not really your team. They come in with this history. You ripped them off from someone else. They're not really yours. If they left somebody else, well, they leave you. It doesn't sit right, And I think he can really speak to that because he played for the Nationals, who were ripped off from Montreal, the Expos. And, we may have a lockout here in the summer of 27. And the Rays have a good team. And are they going to get a stadium? Are they going to stay in Tampa? Nothing like winning a World Series, right? And Montreal, they were in the mix. They could have won that World Series in 94. And then maybe they get a new stadium and instead of playing in a concrete dome in the Olympic Dome, which, zero atmosphere. Maybe they could have gotten something nice and they could have stayed. And now he plays for the Phillies. And they've been there for 125 years. I mean, the Phillies, it's a perfect nickname, fits the city, fits the Philadelphia Phillies. Like, they're just in the fabric of it's awesome. That's what sports should be. And I'm thinking about all that, thinking like, the Padres are all I got left. Yeah, there's a little pity party in here. Yeah, so? You'll learn this about me. I'm good at very few things. Alex, I have one marketable skill. I can talk. That's it. After that, it gets pretty thin pretty fast. And here's another thing. I'm really good at the pity parties. I've had a lot of practice. Lost to Clippers. Loved having the NBA in town, even though they were only there briefly. I mean, they were there less than a decade. It's not like they put down roots. Ripped them off from Buffalo. LA ripped them off from us. It's a franchise with no there. Be somewhere, create a story. There's no there. Weird ownership, crazy ownership, cheating ownership. The Chargers, though, fabric of the community. The Chargers, okay. Ripped out. It sucked. All I got left is the Padres. I was ready to give them up for dead earlier this year. Give them up for dead. Machado started hitting. And then last night, Fernando Tatis put on a show. 2 home runs and pulled a grand slam back in the park. And then know you did it, but it happened so fast, the ball's right at the wall and nobody else knows, and you just stand there. I've retweeted it. You can look at it. The video's all over the place anyway. He just stands there. He just kind of looks at everybody like, you want to know, don't you? I'm not going to tell you. 1,001, 1,002. He counted his 3 Mississippis. and then he flips the ball out of his glove into his throwing hand and throws it back in. Like, you are such a showman, man. But you know what? If I pulled a grand slam back in the park in a major league game, I'd probably want a moment too. Why not? I'm a glass case of emotion. Feeling bad for the Athletics. Feeling good for the Padres. Feeling anticipatory for college sports. And I was hoping to talk football with Ron McBride, but we've had a problem there. We'll have to reschedule that. All right, fine. Mac's one of the few who gets to go in. We used to go to scrimmages back in the day, and now you can't. A few people ruined it for everybody. I really think, and they won't do this, but, it's my own personal dream as a media member. There should just be, like, security clearances and background, I remember Chris Hill, and it was probably early in the Pac-12 era. It's like, yeah, we don't know what to do with practice. We don't know what to do. And you're not the problem, but there's all these people showing up, and you don't know. And I knew what he was talking about because I'd already heard the stories. Lavelle Edwards last year, which was the year you turned 1. But they played, I take that back. It was 1999, so it was the year you were born. What month were you born? When's your birthday?
November.
You're a Scorpio?
Scorpio, yes.
Scorpios are the best.
Yes,
the
and
best.
I think you are
yes,
too.
I am. Of course I am. Why am I saying they're the best? Not hearing me pump up December. PK's got a December birthday. PK can pump up PK. PK's very good at that. He can do that when he comes back. Meanwhile, I'll pump up me. When he comes back, he's just going to make fun of me. I got 3 days of peace, man. You going to bring in a co-host, DJ, and have him make fun of me? What'd I do that for? I got PK for that. Can't have someone stealing PK's gig. Come on now. So it would be a couple months before you were born. Lavelle was getting ready for the opener. Rick Neuheisel, the commentator, was the new coach at Washington. And they were getting ready. That was the big game, in the Mountain West era. And it was actually, I think, the debut of the Mountain West. It was the debut of the Mountain West. It was BYU's first game in the Mountain West. And they're getting ready, and somebody walked up to Lavelle and gave him a bunch of sheets of paper and said, hey, I went to Washington's open scrimmage. I diagrammed all their plays for you. And Lavelle was like, you did? I think it took a minute to process. You did what? Does someone ask you to do that, or you just think this is a good idea? Because this could be a bad idea very quickly. I was told he sent him back to Rick and called and said, hey, you're going to get this stuff in the mail. I had to look at it. I was giving it at practice. Now what we do, somebody's just, got an eager beaver over here trying to overachieve. Sending it back to you. Little did we know Bill Belichick was on the line. Wait a minute, that's a good idea. Let's get a Spygate thing going. I might be able to win a Super Bowl or two. But Lavelle apparently called Rick and mailed him back. And nobody could get mad at Lavelle and stay mad at Lavelle. So I guess it all just worked out. But that's why they got to close practices. Because there's one in every crowd. And it's every fan base to do it. There's always somebody who thinks that kind of stuff's a good idea. So I get why we're closed out. But it'd be good to talk to Mac because as a mentor and a guy who gave a bunch of people breaks and helped people through hard times, he's got deep bonds with people both at Utah and BYU. And he's not willing to tell everything, but he's willing to tell some stuff. So we'll see if we can reschedule him and get him in. All right. That's something. All right. Earlier today, we covered a little bit of the NFL news. People say weird stuff, man. I love some of this stuff, though. Von Miller begins to work on his dream of being a Dallas Cowboy. That was your dream. Wouldn't you have done it like 5 or 10 years earlier in your career? How old is Von Miller now? Is he like 35?
I think he might be getting closer to 40.
Oh, he's 37. He turned 37 in March. It's my dream to be a Dallas Cowboy. Well, I'm not going to say this. You had a whole career to get there, and you're playing for your 5th team now. Couldn't have been your dream a year ago when you went to the Commanders? Had his best times in Denver, obviously, and helped Peyton Manning win a Super Bowl. See what he's still got in the tank. There's something to be said for that. Veterans, you're used to big games. You're not an every-down guy, but you provide depth, you provide leadership. You can go in and you still make a big play. And do you ever have enough good defensive linemen? I can't imagine he is what he was, but he was so awesome. If he's even 80% of that, yeah, it's worth it. But I love it. Oh, it's my dream to be a Cowboy. Come on, man. You're 37. You're on your 5th team. If it were your dream, you would have gotten it done earlier. Multiple brawls marring the Saints-Cowboys joint practice session. You know why? It's because they're bad people. That's why. That's why they were fighting. Bad people.
I thought it was because they signed Von Miller.
No, it's because they're stupid. That's why. What are you doing fighting and hitting people? You're going to break your hand. They got helmets and pads on. Stop it. You want to wrestle a guy to a ground, stick your knee in the chest. I get it. It's a physical sport. There's a lot of adrenaline pumping. Jobs are at stake. It's like this stuff bores us. But for a lot of people, I've mentioned this. I randomly ran into Britton Covey. Where? At Cafe Rio. Why? Because it's Utah. I don't know. We're at the airport. And he was talking about that. He's like, yeah, I mean, it's on. It's camp's opening. I said, man, you had the best quote. You came on. He just looks at me like, uh-oh, what did I say? No, it was legitimately the best quote. No sarcasm. He was talking about how you look over and you say, hey, where's I'm seeing Bob. Where's Bob? They let Bob go Tuesday. What? Guys just coming all the time. He goes, yeah. He says, you think my adrenaline, you think my ears don't go up if some of the adrenaline starts pumping? Like, what'd they bring in a 5'8" wide receiver for? Like, hey now. It's my gig. And that's what it's like. So I actually get why these guys snap. It just strikes me as crazy. Because, don't get hurt. For most of you, that just gives somebody else a chance to play and take your job. So knock it off. I mean, I get the adrenaline's popping, and we always see this stuff every August. Say, football's almost here. Somewhere, somebody's going to get in a fight. So there they did. Some guys, though, are talking right on point. Najee Harris, he has a lot to prove after signing with the Giants. Yeah, that's why you didn't have a team. That's why they don't believe in you. They certainly don't believe in you at the price you want. I mean, it can be a little bit of money. Maybe you could have had a team earlier, but it wasn't enough cash. But, yeah, there's a lot to prove. I mean, at least prove, if you're signing for the minimum, you're just proving you can be in the league. If you're signing for double the minimum and you had to hold out for that, then you had to prove you're owed this money. And it's a one-year deal, so prove it again next year. And Keenan Allen, just same deal. Just went to the Colts after he went to the Chargers, which he was back on his second tour there. So we're seeing these stories all the time. And then Roger Goodell says there's no doubt the NFL will have a team based outside the U.S. I expect that will happen. I'm really curious on where. I think the jet lag's a huge problem to solve. I have read about them going to double buys. I think they need to. I don't understand what they're doing. They're just screwing up in Australia. I think they should go there 100%. They should go to Melbourne. They should go to Sydney for sure. Those are two cities they should go to. All sports are getting international. I think the PGA Tour has to figure out how to do international events with the DP Tour or the Australia-Asia Tour. Do some kind of something in the fall, because once you go overseas, you're playing at odd times. You're not playing at, you're not on from 1 to 4 in the afternoon for us here in the Mountain Time Zone. But there's money to be made in the rest of the world. And these guys all work for international conglomerates, selling shoes, selling drinks, selling cars. It doesn't matter if it's Nike or if it's Ford or it's Toyota or it's Coke or Pepsi or whoever. Like, they're selling in Australia, they're selling in Europe, they're selling in South Africa, they're selling it here. So all these sports are going to go international, and you may not like it, but we have to accept it. But basing a team there, I think you go, you dip in, you dip out. That seems a little more negotiable for me. And the fact that the NFL doesn't have a week 0, and this is just, honestly, the NFL should hire me as a consultant. I could make them money. I have no doubt. San Francisco, the Niners and Rams are going to Australia. They should have gone a week early. There should be one more week of Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football or Thursday Night Football. Figure it out. And they should give them a bye week. They shouldn't be playing week 1. They should just move their opener back a full week. They're going to need that time. The jet lag going to and from Australia, having done it around the 2000 Olympics, I went when you were a year old. We're just going to keep playing this game. You're going to entertain me so much, Alex. I'm so glad you're here. You can't go anywhere. You're here. You're here for my entertainment. Don't take off on me, Alex. Having done it, I got to tell you, the jet lag, it wasn't that bad going there. There's something, I haven't done this enough. The people who travel, I have a friend who's in the insurance business, back to international stuff, and he's based in California, but he has to fly to London for work a few times a year. Tough gig. And yes, he times it to go to NFL games and Major League Baseball when they play over there. Yes, he's a huge sports fan. And there's something about flying east to west that apparently is harder. Because I had a little bit of jet lag when I went there, but it hit me like a ton of bricks coming back. Just crushed me. I can't imagine. I could barely stay awake. I can't imagine trying to play an NFL game at a high level while someone's trying to run by me or blow me up. Massive. Man, I don't know what the point spread's going to be, but pick against them if you're in some pool at work or whatever. Niners, Rams, L. I might pick against them week 3, too. I still don't know if you're back. Now, former NFL Senator Ryan Khalil went on, and you played this bite earlier. He thinks that the NFL is going to Monterey or Mexico City, which does solve the time zone issue, as would Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, something like that. But they don't seem to want to wreck the Canadian Football League, which I don't understand because the NFL is willing to wreck anything else. World Series, bring it on. College football playoffs, absolutely. 2 things they won't wreck. They haven't played on New Year's Day, yet. I said, there's a handful of people who know a funny story from work 15 years ago who are like, he's not going to say that on the air. No, I'm not. It's totally inappropriate. I'm not going to. Have I told you that story, Alex?
I don't think you have, no.
I'll have to tell you that story sometime. It's a funny story. But anyways, yet. But other than that, now going to Monterey or Mexico, the security angle, it just doesn't make sense to me because I hear about these teams. Major League Baseball's gone to Monterey, and they've gone to Mexico multiple times. And obviously soccer does, and the NFL has. And the standard protocol, regardless of the league, is you fly the team in, you put them on a bus, and you take them to the hotel, and then you tell them you can't leave the hotel. And I've had multiple players say, yeah, that was pretty wild. There were armed guards at the doors. Wild. And this isn't just Mexico, Costa Rica, Colombia, Venezuela, on down the list. We've had a couple games in Brazil. I don't know about that, but I think it's a similar deal, but I'm not informed on Brazil. I haven't heard that story. But just the security angle, you're a target. You make too much money, and you're very visible. And so they get on a bus, and they go straight to the stadium, and then from the stadium, they go straight to the airport, and they fly out. I can't imagine putting a team there and handling that security. It's not like stuff doesn't happen here, because it just happened with Savannah Guthrie's mom, right? But the celebrity and the money makes you a bigger target in a place that has more poverty and has cartels and whatever else is going on. And does that mean that there's a story here about Kirk Gibson in his garage and somebody waiting for him? And that story's like 35 years old. And obviously the Guthrie story is very recent. And these stories are all tragedies wherever they happen. And they just don't happen here as much, but they happen here, to be sure. And I just can't imagine the security angle, how you would do that. I mean, these guys' salaries are published. Their pictures are everywhere online. I mean, it'd just be such a target. I can't imagine players would want to play there, and I think they'll be pushed back from the union at some point. And for the rest of them, the jet lag, I just can't imagine a team in London or Berlin. Apparently, the NFL is really big in Germany. And there's a huge American influence. There's so many bases there. So many people speak English there. It's a natural fit. But, man, if you don't put a whole division there, the jet lag. And that's why the NBA was always talking about putting a division there, but now they're going to do this NBA Europe. It's finally like, yeah, what are we doing, man? It's like the travel, and then we think these guys are going to have legs. They're supposed to, run fast, jump high. I mean, that's the magic of the league. These guys can do stuff the rest of us can't do. You ever been in a pickup basketball game with a college player? Not an NBA guy, a college guy. Completely blow your mind. Like, we're not even playing the same sport. I was in a pickup game. I just moved here. I recognized a guy. He'd already graduated, played up at the U. He's in the game. And it's a bunch of 5'10", 6-foot white guys who played high school basketball and put on 20 pounds. And Walter Walt showed up. So Walter is like 5,000 times better than everyone on the court. I'm running down the left-hand side, and I could go at the hoop, but there's a guy who's about to cut me off, and I see Walter just cruising down the middle of the floor. He's in third gear. There's no way he's put this thing in fourth or fifth. That's for stick shift. And you don't know anything about that.
No, I do.
You drive a stick?
I don't drive a stick, but I know the stick.
You've heard of them, though.
Yes, I never learned. Okay. I never learned how to.
Probably just as well. When you learn, you get whiplash. Eventually, you get it down. Start to stop. Could have killed my mom when she was teaching me how to do that. Anyway, Walter's just cruising down the middle of the court, and I'm thinking, I'd have just thrown him a lob just because I don't play with guys who can, I'd throw him a lob, man. 6'10" college guy. And I just, off the dribble, just one hand just flow up. There's no pressure on me. It's easy pass, right? I just throw it up the rim. And it didn't even look like he jumped. It was like a hop, maybe. And he just caught it, bam, and threw it down, turned around, just gave me a little smile and nod, like, thanks for doing that. I didn't think you could do that. I look that pathetic, don't I? You don't even think I can throw a lob. Well, you're wrong, but you're not wrong by much. You're only wrong by a little bit. Oh, man. And then we'd expect these guys to travel internationally and then play at this super high level that, you're paying $1 gazillion to see them play at. Yeah, that's not realistic. All right, DJ and PK, we got to take a break. A lot going on. We have some sound from Aaron Roderick. Can we play this on the other side? Please, please. Yes, I'm getting a thumbs up from Alex. You got to hear this. This is coaches are really good at being interviewed. They're interviewed a lot. Now, it's not everyone gets really good at it, but a lot of people get good at it. And A-Rod's been doing this a long time. He's gotten very good at it. When you hear him start to giggle when he says somebody's name, that means that guy's really good. We'll get to that next. Stay with us right here on The Zone.
For all of you less motivated listeners, it's time for your 9 o'clock. Where the heck have you been headlines?
Where you at?
With DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I don't think we have the exact depth set yet, but Preston Rex is going to play this year. Devon's going to play this year. And then this kid Journey, he's I don't know, we haven't ruled him out yet. He is explosive. Like every time he touches the ball, something exciting happens, it seems like. So, and then obviously LJ and Sione are two lead guys, and they're both playing really good football.
That was awesome. That was A-Rod right there. It is time to get you up to date on everything you missed in this show. Slacker Radio Headlines. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary, 1-855-TRAJAN1, or visit the website at TrajanWealth.com. Interviews can be a whole dance. They know the questions. We know the answers. You got to go down there and do that. But every once in a while, as they're giving their answers, how they answer the question means more than the actual words. So Alex is going to play it again. I want you to listen as he's listing all the players. As he gets to Journey, first there's a little snort. That should wake you out of your stupor of asking, what am I going to ask for my next question? And get you focused on the answer. Then there's a little childlike giggle like, this is unbelievable. Uh-oh, he's been doing stuff. Even the coaches are running the practice tape back going, look at this. Hey, call another position coach. Hey, look at this. Get an analyst in here. Hey, look at this. They're super excited about the possibilities. Listen one more time. Listen for the mini little snort and then the giggle/chuckle. Those are very telling.
I don't think we have the exact depth set yet, but Preston Rex is going to play this year. Devon's going to play this year. And then this kid Journey, he's I don't know. We haven't ruled him out yet. He is explosive. Like every time he touches the ball, something exciting happens, it seems like. So, and then obviously LJ and Sione are 2 lead guys, and they're both playing really good football.
See, he composes himself after that, but for just a second there, a giggle and a snort. What does it mean? I don't know, man. It means something good. But cue up the Journey music. Yeah, then you'll be able to post on YouTube, though. Journey will probably knock you off that. Yeah, you got to be careful there. Journey Tonga, 5'8" running back, freshman from Lusinger High School in Lawndale, California. Now, don't expect anything right away. You know the old cliche with freshmen. Until you know all the blitz pickups, you don't get to play because you don't get Bear Bachmeier blown up. That whole thing we were doing about Jackson Dart, yeah, that's because a running back missed a blitz pickup. So now he's lying on the ground like he's dead. So now he's got to go to the blue tent and get the concussion protocol. So all the ex-players are saying, well, Jackson, if you don't like that, you got to get up off the deck faster. I've heard an ex-quarterback say it. I've heard an ex-lineman say it. They all know it. If you stay on the ground, people think you're hurt. If you get up real quick, it's like, oh, that was a nasty hit. All right, what are we doing on third down? So you got to get up quicker. But if you really run it back, Jackson wouldn't be in the tent if somebody could pick up a blitz. And that's the problem with freshman running backs. You're there because you're fast, you're shifty, you probably ran for 100 touchdowns against completely overmatched high school players. I've only seen it done a couple times in high school, but I have literally seen a really good running back run at a linebacker or a safety and put a couple moves on him so bad that the defender spun around and fell down without being touched. And I've seen it twice, once in person and once on tape. When I was in Santa Barbara anchoring, a guy came back with a tape and he's, hey, you got to see this, right? The show's over. It's late there. The news is at 11. So it's probably midnight because we were on until 11:45. So, yeah, you may have seen the highlights, but we got to go for it. You got to see this. There's a running back at Lompoc High who ended up playing for the Raiders. And he went through a big hole, saw the linebacker, started to lean inside, leaned outside, cut back inside. Linebacker spun around and fell down. Napoleon Kaufman, I think was his name. And then Reno Mahi did it. I was at Brighton High, and he did it to a safety. And they were running, if you're in the press box, they were running left to right. And I was standing like the 20-yard line. The line of scrimmage is like, they're midfield or something, 40, I don't know. And he blows through. He's got one guy to beat. And then again, left. No, it was right. He went left, right, left. And the dude just spun around and went down. And Reno jogged in the end zone. You're like, oh, really? You have to do that to a high school kid? And sure enough, both guys ended up being college stars. And both guys ended up playing in the NFL. Awesome. Tremendous. So I just wonder if that's what Journey is. But that's why you get recruited, but you got to play, you got to be able to handle all the blitz pickups. He listed Journey's name later, but something's going to happen there. Keep your eye on it. And remember, you heard it here first. The story is out. We have to get into this more tomorrow. I have a bunch more stuff on this, so we'll have to do a segment on this tomorrow. But BYU Notre Dame sold out. Prices for tickets on the secondary market are climbing, and I have a friend, and he takes his kids to BYU games, and his boys he might have one in, I think 8th grade is his oldest now, but maybe it's 9th. And then they're younger from there. So he's getting to the point, elementary, junior high, maybe elementary, junior high school. And so he's a huge sports fan. They're huge sports fans. And so he takes them to the game, and he's counting the days. You know, he knows he's going to be an empty nester and like, build the memories now, build the memories now, build the habits now. I said, so you're going to take your kids to the Notre Dame game because it's a big deal, and it's a game they're going to remember. I mean, I can take you back to specific games when I was in elementary and junior high. One of them involves Ron McBride, and he's going to be in tomorrow. We've rescheduled him for tomorrow. And we'll have to talk about that game because it turned out he was coaching at that game, and I was in elementary school sitting in the stands. And something happened to that game. We'll get into it tomorrow. So I'm talking to this friend of mine who has BYU season tickets. I'm like, so you take because this will be the memories, right? Oh, we saw BYU Notre Dame. Or do you sell them because it'll pay for this year's tickets and next year's tickets? And he's a working guy. He's not sitting on family money. He hasn't won the lottery. You know, he's a working guy. He works for a school district. He gets paid well, but it's not, it's not just running down, driving down the freeway, throwing $20 bills out the window. He's torn right now. He hasn't decided yet. He's leaning towards going. But when I tell him, I heard $26,000 for a ticket, it's like, I might have to rethink this. Because I'm pretty sure he has 4 tickets. I could be wrong, but I think he has 4. I don't think he rotates the kids through. I think he has 4 tickets. So that'd be $100,000 if he has good enough tickets. And I don't think he. The 26,000 are probably a little more special location. But if you have BYU tickets and you're mulling it over, go check out the secondary market. I don't think you can replace the memories. But nor am I here to tell you shouldn't go make 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 depending on where your tickets are and depending on how bad Irish fans want to get their hands on them. We had on John Talty from CBS Sports and from 24/7 Sports. And he wrote a story that's behind a paywall, so he's given us info, but he clearly didn't want to give all the info, and we appreciate coming on, and we're not paying him, so I couldn't really beat him up. So you can just listen to it, and you hear the whole dance as I try to pry more info out of him, and he tries to give him enough to be interesting and get you to read the story, but not tell you everything so you don't have to read the story. I love this stuff. Alex is sitting in there laughing the whole time. Lloyd's peering around the edge of the window going, oh, just say it already. Well, he's not gonna. He's dependent on subscriptions for his job. Those sites, man, we read about people getting laid off at those sites. I don't want the dude to get laid off. I appreciate him coming on the show. Anyway, so he did a bunch of research and admitted, hey, he got lied to a lot. And I brought up the Walt Perrin Liars Club, and he's a Knicks fan. He knows exactly who I know who Walt Perrin is. I'm like, okay, well, it's hilarious. And he played it for laughs every year. Liars Club is in session. What about so-and-so? Do you think he'll so-and-so? He's like, I heard. And he goes, you heard? Liars Club is in session. And it was awesome because you didn't see him much after the draft, but you might see him like once or twice, at Summer League or something like that. I say, well, remember when you got asked about so-and-so, about whether he's top 10? And I noticed he went like 21. And he'd look at it and he goes, Liars Club is in session. I'll talk to you guys all day because that's what Kevin wants me to do, but Liars Club is in session. So John went through Liars Club and talked to agents for coaches, agents for players. He talked to head coaches and tried to get a sense and put together how much of the rosters, apparently talked to like more than 50 people. And even one of the reasons he didn't go hard on the numbers is even he admits they're still squishy because Liars Club is in session. People have their motivations for underselling numbers and for overselling numbers. They're going to inflate them. They're going to deflate them. Sounds like there ought to be a joke in there somewhere, but we'll just keep going. If PK were here, he'd have something. He'd have something right there. Boom, boom, boom. But basically it comes down to the teams you think are mostly in the $40 million range. He said Texas Tech was in the low $30 million range. Although if Sorsby were there and he were making $5 million, they'd be in the mid to high 30s. And he listed a bunch of schools that were under 20 and said Colorado might be at 15. Well, that might make it hard for Deion to win, huh? It does sound like Utah and BYU are in the low $20 million-ish range. Now, I've heard some numbers from BYU in association with all this stuff about Kalani being unhappy, and they were below 20. Well, below 20, and I hesitate to, because I know people use this year number, last year number, and it's squishy, man. So I hate to crawl out on a limb and say, this is the number, because I know I'm not positive. So I'm not going there. But he made it sound that Utah and BYU are in the upper portion. He did list some schools. Kansas doesn't have money. UCF doesn't have money. Cincinnati doesn't have money. Houston was way down, although they're getting better. They were basically the schools that came out of the American don't have the money. That's where he was going with that. Although Kansas has been a long time, but Cincinnati and Houston and UCF all moved to jump from the American. And so behind financially, it makes total sense that they would be down in the $15 million range. So you can listen to that interview wherever you get your podcast, KSLSports.com, KSL Sports app, go to YouTube. It's all over the place. Really interesting with him. We also had Bill Bender on talking all sorts of stuff. The pressure to win at LSU, the pressure to win at USC. Oh, John Talty said USC has the money. He doesn't buy it. He's never really bought that coaching hire and thinks there could be change there. Bill Bender came on and talked a lot of Big 12 football, Utah, BYU, Texas Tech, Houston, Arizona, his take on these teams, who's good, who's not, who's a maybe. PK brought up TCU. You know the thing about TCU, and it is a new era, and so I don't know how they're set up financially, but there's just so much talent in Texas, and they got a really good football culture there. Now, maybe they just can't run down Texas Tech because they don't have the cash. But, man, they ought to be good enough to take people down. They ought to be good enough to beat people. You know, they've done their whole Rose Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, and then national title game. And I know things have changed since then. And for some people, they've changed a lot. But I can't discount TCU and count them out. Talked about Stuart Mandel of The Athletic. He picked BYU to beat Houston in the Big 12 championship game. Contrarian going against Texas Tech. For him to be right, we'll know right away because Houston plays Texas Tech week 3. It's the conference opener. We got to get into this more, too. Why is it just one conference game week 2 and one week 3? You know the TV schedule's light and the networks need properties, right? You got to go to the Mountain West and the Pac-12 and say, we'll play you, but you got to play weeks 4, 5, 6. You got to play non-conference games in October. Because we're going to play our conference games, and you should too, and the TV networks will appreciate that, and anything that creates more value that'll help you negotiate, get better ratings, get talked about, get seen, and help you when you have to renegotiate your next TV deal down the road. I think conference games week 2 and 3. I wouldn't ask coaches to do it week 1. I know some leagues do. I've never really liked it. They don't have preseason. They need a little bit of a shakeout cruise. So a non-conference game, a money game, whether it's a money game or a bigger non-conference game. You know, North Carolina and TCU going to Ireland, and so a little bit of a risk there. It's a long way to travel, and it's your first game. I mean, one team's always going to win and one team's always going to lose whatever week you play, so I don't want to draw it out too much. But I get how that makes coaches uncomfortable, and you can only fight with your coaches so much. But conference games week 2 and 3 don't seem like too much to ask. Do it. Do it now. Major League Baseball, Ketel Marte back in Phoenix after the no-show. Diamondbacks still struggling. A, they miss his talent, and B, it just messes with the chemistry, and it's a distraction. And this is why coaches hate distractions. It's like managers hate distractions. They got beat 11-1 the day he didn't show up. Now they get beat 9-4. And it's Boston, and Boston's good, and maybe Boston would have beat him anyway, but they're giving up ground in the wild card race. With the Phillies and the Padres, it's 3 teams for 2 spots. Maybe the Cubs will come back to the pack. Maybe somebody like Miami, there's 2 or 3 other teams. Maybe St. Louis or somebody will get hot and catch up. But right now it looks like 3 teams for 2 spots. And the Diamondbacks are shooting themselves in the foot these last 2 days, which, as a Padre fan, I appreciate, and I'm sure they appreciate in Philadelphia too. I appreciate Fernando Tatis Jr. hitting 2 homers and then robbing Francisco Lindor of a grand slam. He's such a showboat, man. It's like, if everybody else in Major League Baseball hates Fernando Tatis Jr. for being a showboat, I get it. Yeah, and he shows up your team, bat flips after home runs and all that stuff. But that grand slam was so cool. And then he just stood there. And they flicked the ball out of his glove and caught it and threw it back like, yeah, I got it. But I'm not going to tell you right away. I'm going to make you think about it. Such a showboat. But if he plays for your team, then you love him, and he sells a lot. He sells a lot of jerseys and T-shirts in San Diego. He sells a bunch of merchandise. Phillies also want to capitalize on the Diamondbacks' problems. And you want problems? How about Seattle beating 22-0 by Milwaukee? They did give up 9 in the 8th. They put a third baseman out there and I think it was Luis Perez, let him pitch, give up a bunch of runs. Ty's the biggest shutout in the modern era, but pitching's at a premium, so don't waste any of it when you're down 13-0. Put your third baseman out there. Best quote, Knicks title run. Embarrassing, according to the Nets owner. He insisted their crosstown rivals' recent success will not alter their rebuild trajectory. You know, the trajectory is like the flat line in the hospital drama when somebody dies. That's the Nets trajectory. 20 years since the NBA Finals. And, you know, Jazz have gone 25, going on 30 years since the NBA Finals. But how often do you win a playoff series? I mean, just qualify for the playoffs and win a series. Not very often. It's a struggle for the Nets. And they got some built-in advantages there in Brooklyn, you would think. And yet, does it happen? No, kind of a mess. They've won 2 playoff series in 19 years. It's not a big number. It's not much of a trajectory. Which of the top 4 NBA draft picks will win a championship first? ESPN's insiders say Darren Peterson is the most likely candidate. So there you go. How about that? How's that, Jazz fans, for a little August hype right there? Thank you, ESPN. Now, the Wizards, the Grizzlies, the Bulls, I think the Grizzlies have been pretty well run. They've had some problems, but they've done all right. They've drafted well. They've had some good teams there, and they don't have built-in advantages. You think Chicago and Washington could get it together, but they really can't. So I get why they say Utah, and you got the Angels who did it in Boston. So I get why ESPN people would say that. Darren Peterson, most likely candidate, plus his talent. You got to factor that in. All right, DJ and PK, going to take a break. When we come back, your feedback and me amazed at your age and the things you don't know. The age disparity between us is cracking people up. Man, have they got some things to say. We'll get to that next. Stay with us.
And it's all over almost here. Don't go nowhere.
And now, enough of us. It's time to hear from you. From all your texts, tweets, and posts. This is the best feedback of the day.
Woo! Oh, I was there. It's the best game of my life.
With DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it is time for your feedback. ESPN founder Bill Rasmussen died at the age of 93. What's his legacy? Alex says the best thing's College Game Day, the worst thing's Pat McAfee. Well, you can't be wrong, Alex. You know, it's your opinion, but I would just say no. For me, his legacy is he realized that people didn't want to watch sports just on the weekend during the day. That's when 99% of sports was. World Series, MLB All-Star Game, Olympics, Monday Night Football. Everything else happened between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. That was it. The thought that someone would sit down in prime time and watch sports instead of an entertainment show, are you kidding me? Now it's like, yeah, obviously. Yeah, well, ESPN's the reason. ESPN's the one who started doing college football triple headers, and still they started doing quadruple headers. Everything changed in 1984. 1984, when the Supreme Court decision came along, ESPN pounced. College basketball, they put the opening round of the NCAA tournament on TV and the Sweet 16 on TV. Those happened on Thursdays and Fridays. They weren't on TV when I was in junior high and high school. Horrible. The dark ages. How can America be held hostage like that? ESPN figured it out. Told the story earlier, man. Went over to Phil Lauder's apartment. Hey, Phil, what's going on? I was away at college. I was back. Spring break. It's like 6:30 or something like that. Roll in. He had Louisville, Kentucky on in a Sweet 16 game. What? This is awesome. I think we had plans to go do sauna. Plans are off. We're watching college hoops. Absolutely. Louisville and Kentucky wasn't on TV. Kind of a country were we living in. And now we have more ESPN channels than I had TV channels growing up. Wasn't in New York with all these independents and all that. And it wasn't just him. You know, you hear the stories about Dale Murphy will tell them because he played for the Braves, you know, the Superstation. Yeah, people will watch afternoon baseball. There's an audience at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon to watch the Braves or watch the Cubs on WGN. But man, those were few and far between. Bill Rasmussen was on the cutting edge. He was on to something. Now, we've been talking this morning about, as I recounted some of the things that have changed in sports, and I looked at Alex's face, Alex Napolis, our new producer, and Alex's face is kind of bewilderment, craziness, like, how old is DJ? What did he have to grow up with? So you were born in 1999.
99. November of 99.
And so then we were talking about phone booths. I think I have a picture. PK just texted me. He's at an awesome breakfast place. Bum. He's at Uncle Bill's right now. You win. PK wins again. Love Uncle Bill's. That totally threw me. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Distracted. Are you guys hiring kindergartners using a phone booth as a bucket list item for kids? That is classic. Yes, it is. Alex has never used a phone booth, but he's heard of them.
I guess I should clarify on that comment. I didn't mean just like your regular typical phone book. I meant like
phone booth.
Phone booth. Yes. I didn't mean like the regular typical one. I meant like, the cool ones that you see in England. That's the bucket list item.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I should clarify on that because I saw the response and I was like, yeah, that made me sound kind of lame.
This is because I brought up the glass case of emotion, Will Ferrell, right? It's a great meme. So I was driving in Heber City one day, just driving down a city street, kind of from Midway to Heber. I know I was headed from west to east. I forget what street I was on, but I stopped and took a photo because there on somebody's lawn, for no apparent reason, is a phone booth. Old school. They've all been taken out. Phone booths used to be everywhere. There was always a bank of phones in hotel lobbies. You go around the corner from the desk. The desk didn't want to hear people's conversations, so they'd install them around the corner. Where are the phones? They're around the corner. Matty Ice, you guys hiring kindergartners using a phone booth as a bucket list item for kids. I said, well, wait until Alex finds out that phones used to hang on a wall near the kitchen, and if you come racing in from outside on a summer day to get the Kool-Aid out of the fridge, you might get a rope burn on your neck if mom's on the phone and you aren't paying attention. Because mom would talk to do something, and the thing could stretch out, depending on the phone, 5 feet, 20 feet, whatever.
You couldn't put it in your pocket?
No, you could not put it in your pocket. It wasn't a foot long, but it was close. 9, 10, 11, whatever. It was way too big to put in your pocket. And then Matty Ice, this is, you might remember this. Get off the phone. I'm trying to use the internet. AOL dial-up.
I do remember that.
You do remember that. All right.
We had to have stuff like that.
We're out of time. Tomorrow we will again explore the generation gap between DJ and Alex. Ron McBride will be in studio. We got to get Kevin Graham. Friday's leaning towards a pretty full day. Maybe we get Kevin for a Football Friday. Maybe we just make it a Thursday. We got to get him. A lot coming up. Coming up next, it's Scotty G and the coach Tim Lacombe. Stay with us right here on The Zone.
Show's over.
And we're done.
We've already run out of time again.
This is where we say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Don't say goodbye.
Who'd like to hang around and help clean up?
That ended well.